Dear friends, we are about to start the program. We are just waiting for one more minute so that it's 2 o'clock. Good afternoon, friends and dignitaries. We are starting this national webinar on local governance, participatory research and knowledge dissemination in the changing scenario, jointly organized by Gramina Padnakendram, GPK, and KILA, the Kerala Institute of Local Administration. I now invite Ms. M.S. Anila, the President of the Karakulam Gram Panchayat, to deliver the welcome speech.
Good afternoon, everybody. During this period of COVID-19, all of our traditional and formal system of conferences and meetings have been changed. Now, most of us are officially and unofficially compelled to seek digital platforms for sharing opinions and information communication. Hence, KILA and GPK jointly have decided to hold these online discussions. Of course, the post-pandemic period will be a different and unfamiliar situation to all of us, especially to those who are functioning as elected representatives in LSGD. Likewise, the role and destination of LSGD will be changed in future. So, will be under a presence of seek support of other eligible persons to address a number of issues accumulating before us. Here lies the relevance and scope of local level participating organization like GPK, which was established by Grama Panchayat Karakulam 20 years before. The people felt with the need of such as institutions even during this pandemic period is planning, preparing and implementing different activities with the maximum effectiveness and public participation during these days. Thus, I sincerely believe that this webinar will be a fruitful onto its objective and result. The deliberations will become worthful in this regard. With this, I do extend our warm welcome to those who are participating in this webinar, especially Dr. T.M. Thomas Isaac sir, Honorable Minister of Finance and Choir, Sri S.M. Vijayanand IAS sir, former Chief Secretary, Dr. K.N. Hadlal sir, Member of State Planning Board, Srimati Sharada Muralidharan IAS, Principal Secretary of LSGD Department, Dr. Joy Elaman sir, Director General of KILA, Vijayanand sir, IAS, Chairman of GPK, and the invited discussions and dignitaries to this program.
Thank you, madam. I will not take much time for this at the moment. I will actually leave it to Professor and Dr. T.M. Thomas Isaac, the Honorable Minister, to deliver the inaugural address. Before that, I can just introduce the whole webinar to you. We are going to have 3 sessions. One is the inaugural session, followed by the academic session, and then the valedictory session. The inaugural session, we will have Dr. T.M. Thomas Isaac, the Honorable Minister for Finance and Choir. Then we will have Srimati Sharda Muralidharan for the academic session chairing, the Principal Secretary of Local Self-Government Department in Kerala, and Sudh Kumar, the Executive Director of Gramina Pannagendram, followed by discussion. We have a long list of discussants from various parts of the country who will introduce various aspects of this one. And then finally, we have the valedictory session chaired by Dr. K.N. Harilal, the member of the Kerala State Planning Board. And the valedictory address will be by Sri S.M. Vijayanand, at the moment the 6th State Finance Commission chairperson, but who has been the ministry, the Secretary of the Ministry of Panchayat Raj as well as the Chief Secretary of Kerala earlier. So over to Dr. T.M. Thomas Isaac, the Honorable Minister for Finance and COIR, Kerala, to deliver the inaugural address. Can't hear. Not audible.
അവിടെ മ്യൂട്ട് ആണല്ലേ? അല്ലേ, അവിടെ മ്യൂട്ട് അല്ലേ? ക്ലോസ് ചെയ്തല്ലേ?
അൺമ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്യണം. അൺമ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്യണം.
Yeah. Is it wrong? Yes. Dr. Joy, other dignitaries and dear friends, I'm very happy to inaugurate government research and knowledge dissemination in the changing scenario. Now, generation of knowledge and its dissemination is the key to change. Recently, I have been involved in online teaching of social studies for 10th standard students, and it opens with the age of revolution, and the preface is enlightenment. It's a precondition for change, whether it be developmental change or social change. That ideas of change are spread and people become aware. So that is almost accepted by everybody, particularly when it comes to social change. And the ideas of enlightenment were so important, not only European revolutions, but American Revolution, even in our own state. My most favorite panchayat, its one's president was Mr. Liberty. In fact, his brother was Mr. Fraternity, and younger brother was Mr. Equality. These ideas have become so powerful that it spread even influence the thinking of even our villages. So that's just to start with. Production of knowledge and dissemination is very, very important, not only for social change, but also for developmental change. Now, there are distinct three phases. One, generation of knowledge. Other is its dissemination. And third is action. Now, is it possible to bring these three stages together? And that is the developmental change. Is it possible to bring generation knowledge, dissemination, and action linked together? And that's what participatory research is about. In participatory research, the agents of change and also its beneficiaries, the people, they generate knowledge. Because they generate knowledge, they are aware of it, and they have an ownership of it, and therefore it becomes an aid to their action. Therefore, participatory research It's about a linkage between generation, dissemination, and action. So it is distinctly different from academic research. Now, I'm in no way running down the academic research. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I myself am an academic, but there are distinct difference between academic research and participatory research. Academic research is done by a scholar, individual, while action, this participatory research is a collective active study. It's a community getting involved in the generation of knowledge. So that I think is the first important thing. Therefore, when academic research, its output, needn't reach the people. But on the other hand, if the people themselves are generating knowledge about their life, their community, then immediately they also become aware of. So, second difference would be the academic research is more analytical and contemplative process. Definitely, there is an analysis involved in participatory research, but it is closely linked to action. See, the academics live in ivory towers, I mean, most of them. But participatory research, those who are involved in action, they are doing the research. Now, third difference is the common people who are involved in self-study and research. They will have to use techniques which are simple, amenable to them. On the other hand, academic research is very complex, use very complicated analytical tools and so on. But if you are thinking of participatory research, your research tools have to be very simple and easily digestible to the people. And for academic, generation of knowledge itself is the objective end. While here, the awareness creation is the objective. So these are very fundamental difference between academic research and participatory research. And if you take Kerala's local government, well, you can see how participatory research has contributed very significantly to making of the present local governments in Kerala. Now we live in a time, as Joy mentioned, as the title of the webinar seems to imply, which is very rapidly changing. Even the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, is thinking about getting vocal about local. But unfortunately, in his local, there is no local government. That's highly unfortunate. See. But Kerala local governments in these change times, in these pandemic times, what local governments can actually do. See. Local governments in Kerala have been the central fulcrum around which the defense against the COVID has been revolving at the local level. Whether it be provision of, say, quarantine facilities, providing food for the people, or implementing the reverse quarantine, on all these activities, they are efficiently implemented because of the active involvement of the local governments. How did this vibrant local government system emerge in Kerala, and what has been the contribution of participatory research in its emergence? This is the theme I want to speak about, you see. And I have a book with Richard Franke on the emergence of the new local governments in Kerala, of which we are now currently involved in preparing a new edition. And it opens with two broad discussions. One is the larger political vision that made possible the people campaign. I'm not going to go into the large political vision. There was a determination, a political decision that it was very important in Kerala to empower the local governments and an objective which had failed in the last 5 or 6 decades of independence. And it had to be done. And to do that, important to mobilize people because it was such a fundamental change that was going to take place. You need the mobilization of people's support for that change, their participation in that change. And so was People's Plan campaign drawn up, which extended over more than a year, where hundreds of thousands of people did participate. And I'm not going to narrate each activity, but it was, I think, the largest non-formal education campaign ever conducted in India. Now, many people, I just saw TD on the screen, many people have wondered how it was possible to roll out such a huge mass program, mass education program, action-oriented. Each phase had certain objectives which have to be implemented so that you reach finally at the end of the year, at the end of the campaign, the first year annual plan of the local governments. Now, how was it possible to roll it out in this manner? So many handbooks had to be prepared, models have to be introduced to the people, and so on and so on and so on. Now, it was made possible, our book explains, because Kerala had a very vibrant civil society which generated so many micro-level development models. It generated knowledge through participatory activities. And what the People's Plan campaign did was to scale up this knowledge generated at the local level by different agencies, which includes Kerala Shastra Sahitya Parishad, it program for community organization, cost for socio-economic unit, and so on. Not only them, but also, say, government agencies, government departments working at the local level. It generated so much experience for every sector already through participatory research, I would say. Because this micro-level experiments is not a scheme which is given from above, but people in the locality get together under the leadership of some NGO or agency, and they analyze the situation and they design an intervention program, implement it. Best example would be, say, take simple thing, Grama Sabha. Now today, Grama Sabha is so routine. And now when you have Grama Sabha, you have a plenary session to begin with, it is structured, then you have group discussions where there are facilitators who lead the discussion, then which is summed up in another plenary session. Now, this is a usual format to the Grama Sabha. Now, TG, who was there in the screen just some time back, I suppose it was TG. Nagaran, are you hearing me? Anyway, in a village in northern Kerala, Kalyashedi, they had experimented with various types of Grama Sabha, which was then they were not satisfied. Therefore, they went on to organize neighborhood groups besides the Grama Sabha, so that you have a neighborhood group discussion before you meet formally in the Grama Sabha. It took nearly a month of experimentation and discussion and debate before you could design a program which could be scaled up, you see. The first one was participatory research. Nobody was there to give guidelines, but the local activists there, the people their experience was converted into knowledge, and then it was scaled up. Or else, for example, take development report or the People's Plan campaign. I think it was a marvelous thing. I think it was the best part of the People's Plan campaign. A report had to be prepared by every local government in Kerala. Now I tell you, still, if you go to some of the libraries, you have 100,000 printed pages of reports, village reports available. I just the other day managed to took out Panyal Panchayat development report. And reading it back now 20 years, 25, 23 years later, it is amazing the kind of report that emerged from an obscure village in Trichy district. Now, to make that even possible, that report contained, for example, the history. The people have to write the history from some scholar. How do you do that? A simple history timeline. All the elders in the community, and they recall the most important 10 events in their memory. So you have a frequency distribution of these events. Then you take a 10 most important events, the collective memory of the village. Then you describe them, and that's the local history. And this simple methodology was tried out, then scaled up, of course. Or eco zones. Each village, we wanted to make distinguish the eco zones. Of course, we were experimenting with the participatory resource management program, but that was a little bit too complicated, could not be implemented and transferred to every panchayat in Kerala in a short period. And therefore, somebody thought up of a tool which is very frequently used in the participatory research, this transit walk. And amazing, the way so many innovations went with the transit walk, how people walked into each assigned to look up one particular aspect of the eco zones they were transecting, then note it down, collect it together, have a picture of the transect of the panchayat, put it in the report. Or the secondary data collection. How were we to connect all this data for planning? Many people thought we will have another survey. It never could be done, an all Kerala survey for every panchayat and so on. But then we suddenly realized that at the state level, have all detailed data. But where does the state level data come? They come from the village. So this data must be there in some register of the village or not. Once again, the Kuruchi Panchayat, the people got together, identified each of the offices, numbered the registers, identified what kind of data is available, and then had a popular participatory scheme by which a procession of people would go from office to office, filling up the form, so that the very filling up the form, collection of data itself becomes an awareness program. Or the development report had a certain formula. Each development sector, the analysis, development problem has to be identified and the solutions listed. Now, how do you analyze the problem? Again, a methodology from below. Most importantly, which was a stakeholder discussion of the stakeholders related to the department and sector, sitting together, discussing, writing down. Each, like this, I don't want to elaborate each one. I'm saying just one development report, I think, is a supreme example of participatory research. Every panchayat in Kerala, every municipality in Kerala produce a research. I am a professional academic, I tell you, 20% of them would pass for MPhil thesis in most of the universities. It's something, see, now people collectively participating to produce a report. By the time report is produced, they are aware of the content. More importantly, they have an ownership of it. So when the development seminar comes, there is an animated discussion that takes place. And tomorrow, if the local government representatives decide, discard all the suggestions and choose their own priorities, because there is a sense of ownership of the information, data, and priorities, there will be somebody to contribute it. So like this, I can go on, for example, the resource mapping program, which was organized, came up below. Unique participatory research. Almost all panchayats now have. In fact, there was a big debate among us at that time. There were ISRO people who said, we can provide you with satellite maps, we can provide you with the aerobic photos for each region. You have to only mosaic it and so on and so forth. But then it will remain in some cupboard here. But on the other hand, when people take the cadastral map of the village, walk from plot to plot, and put the water resources, landform, then the soil conditions, the vegetation, the man-made structures, then the household certainly will come ask, what are you doing? Why are you entering this? That's the time you tell them why it is, what it is for. The collection of data is transformed into an awareness program. So this is how, through a participatory research in every panchayat, every locality, that the present local governments in Kerala took shape. And then the knowledge is generated from the book. It has to be systematized. It has to be documented. And it has to be generalized. And you need institutions for that. And Kila, the key organizer of this webinar, was the institution which was seen to do that. And Kila, I don't want to explain, has lived up to the expectations. It has become a kind of university which generalizes, systematizes, and documents the knowledge generated from below through participatory research. Now, Kila is supported by government and so on. But other partner of this webinar is Gramina Padana Kendram. That is something marvelous. That's thrown up. Why the People's Plan Campaign? Like many other good examples, great examples and models. Here at Panchayat, sponsoring a research institution, which would also be a kind of that is also there. It's a unique institution which combines art, culture, and research into one unit, sponsored by a panchayat here. And now, after 20 years, it gives such happiness and fulfillment that it is something which was emerged from by initiated local government, holding up partnering with the premier local government research institute in Kerala, which is not all participatory, academic researchers there and so on, to have a webinar on this participatory research. So I think something great. Very, very, very happy to be inaugurating the seminar. Being organized at this time of COVID epidemic. And in fact, the Panchayat president refused. And now, once again, I would say it was not accidental that the local governments have been so effective. In fact, they were in the midst of doing something only comparable to the development reports prepared at the beginning, first year of the People's Plan campaign. Each local government is preparing their local disaster management plan. And this is something first time happening in the world. Every panchayat, every municipality was set down, not through somebody giving from above everything, through stakeholder discussions of the locality, collecting information from the locality in a participatory manner, generating a report which would have solutions to mitigate mitigate the disaster, and also an action program to be undertaken in case the disaster strikes again. Now, it was this antecedents from the People's Plan campaign when Arumba M. K. Prasad started on the Panchayat Biodiversity Register. For the first time, as a part of People's Plan, some panchayats setting up biodiversity register. And once biodiversity register, now almost everybody has it. So biodiversity register, the role of panchayats in the earlier disaster management, and the environmental, all this, and also climate change. So many panchayats, I don't know, they really meant what they said. Just for climate, the carbon neutral panchayat. I just become fashionable. They may not understand the full scientific implications about how do you have a carbon neutral panchayat, but nevertheless, they are experimenting with the how do you sequester extra carbon? Or you have to plant trees, so you have a tree planting program. All this environmental intervention starting from the People's Plan campaign now converge into a disaster management plan, and is in the, I think this is best case after the development report of a participatory research when this pandemic struck. They were prepared here. The mindset was there. It was something you are taken by surprise. And therefore, it's so easy to convert into action. It's so easy to convert into action. So this, I think, holds important lesson for rest of India. It's a very, very sad state. For example, a few years back, when the 20th anniversary of the passage of 73rd, 74th Constitutional Amendment was held by Kila, organized by Kila. It was a sad moment also, because I realized this is the only event taking place in India. The only event, only place in India, it was being celebrated. The 73rd, 74th Constitutional Amendment. But suddenly this pandemic has given a new life to the local governments in India. Suddenly the central government and the state governments are realizing their long, long arms are not going to sound sufficient to reach the villages of India. And therefore, if you want to have social distancing in the village, if you want to have, say, reverse quarantine in the village, and so on and so forth, there is no other way than empowering the local governments. And that's the changing time. And that's what the president referred to. I'm very happy for that insight of the Panchayat president, that these are the changing times. And that's why this webinar is very contextual, this volunteer seminar, that it will reveal the government of India also that you need participatory research at the local level if you want to fight this pandemic. You have to get community involved. Involvement doesn't come through government orders. Community involvement comes when they are aware, when they participate for an action. So it's a very timely webinar, and I'm very, very happy that you have chosen this theme. I wish the webinar the best. May the deliberations here inspire many people across the country to have a new beginning with local governments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Isaac. Now the inaugural session is coming to a close now. I will keep my comments towards the end of the next session or so. And so over to the academic session, handing over the session to Sharda Madam, the Principal Secretary of the LSTD in Kerala, as well as a former Ministry of Panchayat Raj Joint Secretary, and who has been the convener of the District Planning Committee long time back during the People's Plan campaign. Over to Madam.
Thank you, Dr. Joy. So we will start our academic session on participatory governance and research exposure in the changing scenario of the role of local institutions. Never has been the relevance of the adage think globally, act locally been more relevant than in our COVID times. The world as we know it is shifting. In Kerala particularly, the last 3-4 years have been seeing environment disaster after disaster. Now we've got the pandemic. There is a looming questions of food insecurity and livelihood insecurity. There is a burgeoning population, global population, migrating population of the state, which is looking to come back. We have before us a situation where we have never been before so disconnected physically, unable to connect with each other. But then on the other hand, we have also not been ever so connected. So this also is an interesting combination of paradoxes here, a paradox that we are living through. And it appears from the way that COVID responses are also panning out that local informed response is actually the most relevant at this point of time. It is the one which is the most possible. It's the only possible physical response. And that being said, the local governments therefore would have to play a very important role in making it happen, in coordinating it, in systematizing it, in documenting it, in accounting for it. So the question before us would be going forward is how do you ensure that local response is informed local response? And that's perhaps some of the answers that we would need to get through methodologies of concurrent research, evolving understanding, participatory research. So in the aftermath of COVID, when we say there is a need, what is the need actually for this local research? One question would evidently start with disaster itself. How does one formulate or modulate disaster response? How do you move from disaster response to climate resilience? How does one ensure responsible civic behavior? And that would mean, behavior that is willing to look at environmental mistakes that have been made locally and rectify them, which would be willing to understand and the requirement of balancing immediate human needs with medium and long-term requirements of the natural environment. It would mean understanding mitigation and what it implies, and the cost of it too. The cost of it by way of comfort. These need to be understood. We also find that the COVID pandemic has thrown before us the question of response, livelihood response and food security response, and what are the local solutions that can be that can be looked at and that can be grounded to make sure that this response is something which we end up looking at solutions that are local. And even when we do that, can we systematize? Can we look at online boarding? How do we also capture a local market in the? It would be if we get it right, we would have surplus. Then what would we do with the surplus? waste management, health, education, welfare, all of these have been throwing up challenges in this scenario. And some of these challenges might turn out to be opportunities now, because this question of how, for instance, in Kerala too, with the kind of its geographical and topographic spread, it's been almost impossible to look at sustainable waste management solutions, local solutions. Any intervention is met with a great deal of local resistance. So research is needed, and participatory research is needed to see as to how do you change mindsets? How can you look at getting the population, people, the community to not just want beauty and cleanliness around them, but also actively contribute towards ensuring it? What would the private interface be, and how can we make it meaningful and relevant and positive? You realize also suddenly that community assets, both personnel, both human and infrastructural, could be optimized much better than we are using them right now. How do we do that? There is this enhanced understanding of local biodiversity. How do you use that to a larger good? And when we look at local governments, comes a question of regulation. Local governments in India, in Kerala too, have not been particularly adept at bringing in regulation and enforcing it. They have, and that has cost them also by way of generating revenues that would help them to bring about change. So the challenge before us again is it possible that we could look at a scenario where local governments are able to generate their own resources, and out of those resources are able to find solutions, and all of this is participatory. So welfare responsibility, and how can we distance regulatory responsibility from that of development responsibility? Very often it's because the two are conflated that we find reluctance in taking the regulatory responsibility forward. So how do you compartmentalize this, and how do you make bridges? So these are again interesting questions which we would be looking at. One very critical question in all of this would be today, 25 years ago, local governance started in Kerala. We had nothing near the tools that we have right now. Electronic tools, ICT, satellite imaging. Today, when the Honorable Finance Minister was talking about the disaster maps, it is a fact that we've had about 20 odd satellite imaging maps that have been provided to each and every local government, which enables them to look at multiple layering and understanding of local requirements and needs in ways that they would never have been able to before. And the pandemic, one of the interesting things about the pandemic also has been how it has helped open barriers of knowledge. What was everybody's personal, departmental, secret information has now become thoroughfare. Everybody uses it because everyone needs to use it, because we realize that if we don't have this information, it's going to cost each and every one of us personally. And that has been a great motivator in sharing information and bringing that together on board. So the question of artificial intelligence, of augmented reality, virtual reality, we need to start looking at all of that and bringing that into the local sphere. There have been little experiments, but then Kerala is a place where little experiments can become one big grand experiment. And so these were just some important areas which we could think of looking at, where participatory research and knowledge dissemination could be of value to both Kerala and the country. A word about GPK, the Gramin Padana Kendra. I have a very intimate connect with it, starting with with being in the district planning committee, which sanctioned funds, despite a lot of questions as to whether this was even required. in Trivandrum district. So the unique location of the Karakulam project, by being right on the outskirts of the city, has given it a lot of access to resources, and that has perhaps also been an important factor in the way it's grown. So from computer training and animation, which it started from, to watershed mapping, natural resource management, to development of citizen charters, to coming out with the concept of the front desk, which led to ISO certification that's been happening of the local governments, and social audit. Also the modernizing government program, in which they've been brought out manuals, which today, when you look back, you understand were way ahead of their times, and perhaps one reason why they were not completely taken up. But GPK has shown us that it's got the capability. It's a little David which has been able to rope in multiple Goliaths, and aspire to being so much greater than what its resources are, but also using those local resources to ensure that the flame has been going on. And one person who has been, again, seen GPKs through the Gramin Patna Kendra through its ups and downs, started as on an advisory note, but then got into executive roles, has been, I remember in early days, when he was deliberating on whether or not to actually go the whole hog, get into taking over the administrative reins of the Gramin Patna Kendra, is Dr. Suhut Kumar, who is now the executive director of the Gramin Patna Kendra. He's a former professor of the law college here. He retired recently. His PhD is environmental law, but all of us know him and consult him as an expert in Panchayati Raj. He has written extensively and on the legal frameworks pertaining to Panchayati Raj. And he has also been a major contributor to the freewheeling space that the Gramin Patna Kendra has provided us to, had provided to think, deliberate, dissent, act. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce Dr. Suhut Kumar and the team for today's webinar. Thank you. Dr. Suhut, it's over to you now.
Thank you, ma'am. I shall start with a very warm welcome to all of the participants in this webinar on behalf of Gramin Patna Kendra and the associated organization KILA. At the outset itself, I like to explain that this webinar wish to address two important components. First one is the establishment, the expertise and experiences of the local level knowledge and research dissemination organization, which is Gramina Patna Kendra itself. And the second part is the role, relevance, scope and function of the local government institution in the forthcoming future of the state as well as the country at large. In this presentation also, you can see two elements or components. But I am not intended to deal with the details of the first part, which is regarding the establishment, evolution and development of Gramin Patna Kendra. Why? Because the deliberations are expected to be on the basis of the second part itself. That is regarding the role of such an institution or an organization in a changing scenario, the socio-economic and environment scenario in the future days of our society. I would like to bring your attention to the matter that GPK itself has no existence without the socio-political and economic existence of the Kerala society at large, as well as the local society of Karola Grama Panchayat in a specific concern. As all of you know, Kerala has a long history of the decentralization process, which start from early 50s of the last century, and it has shifted into a next mode or next level by the establishment of district councils by 1989 in Kerala. For the first time in a state, that much of functions and powers were transferred to a district administration forum. Whereas Panchayat Raj and Nagarpalika system, initiated by the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment, and the next phase of local governance started by 1995 onwards in Kerala, which completes 25 years of their functions in Kerala by this year. And the next term will be started by October or November of this year onwards. GPK has evolved as a product of a participatory democratic decentralized planning system in Kerala by 1997. The functions, funds and functionaries were transferred by the government of Kerala, as the previous speakers told you. Whereas the LSC institutions were not at all in a position to utilize that much of fund with respect to their own knowledge only. In that respect, and that's slot, an institution or an organization like GPK initiated and needed at that period of time as part of the grassroots level plan initiatives. Then a massive training program during that period of time also helped us to think of this type of system and functioning in this modus operandi. The participatory resource mobilization is another important challenge during that period of time. That also considered by we people during that situation. And finally, we evolved into a local voluntary technical support group. As you know, VTC during the 9th plan period, People's Plan Campaign period, we have initiated our function, started our function as part of a local voluntary support group, as part of the VTC system incorporated in the plan process itself. Subsequently, GPK has institutionalized as part of the plan project and registered as a charitable society under the slowly expanded their functions into such a system. You can see the vision of local government, the GPK, along with the local government institution that is known as local governance, public service delivery, gender sensitivity, and sustainable socio-economic development. The mission may be explained and extended into different aspects: facilitating local governance institutions, expertise mobilization for information technology, training support for LSD institution, local level resource and research facility, the functioning as a citizen education center, etc. You can see a number of activities taken over by GPK through its sister organization or subsidiary institutions, which are known as Integrated Information Technology Center, Kalagramam, Participatory Research and Resource Center, Citizen Education Center, etc. Now, GPK is an umbrella organization of all these 4 subsidiary wings. You can see a collaborated set of initiatives undertaken by GPK during the last 20 years with the national level, international level, and regional level of institution, apart from the state level governmental and non-governmental institutions and organization as part of these activities. You can see a set of programs and projects taken over by GPK during this period of time. I'm not going to explain all these programs and projects in detail. Only one particular program, which is taken over by the organization GPK under the support of SDC CAPDEC, Responsive Administration and Management Development Program, which has intensively resulted in a different type of institutional quality service delivery, as well as tax metrics program, service delivery manual preparation for 13 transferred institutions under a local government institution, the institutional functional guideline for a panchayat to integrate all these institutions and functions, a standard operational program, a process for grievance redressal and social audit mechanism that also evolved as part of this activity, responsive administration management activity. You can see organizations and organs of LSCA were supported as part of our activities during this period of time. Another important component organization of GPK is Moving Craft, a concept along with the IT allied activities in creative and artistic functions, which may be considered as a collective of trained creative professionals in IT field. They are doing their functions in new media designing and animation film production. Greater achievements were made by them during this period of time. National and international reputed IT production house, which can be stated so. And they are engaged in a number of activities, including web designing, CAD functions, and another IT-related production activities. We are continuing with our association with a number of organizations in all over the India, like Anandi, Pradhan, and the such other institutions and organizations in India. Along with that, we are continuing our association and collaboration with state level institutions and organizations like Kudumbashree, Haritha Kerala Mission, Kerala University, State Higher Education Council, IT Mission, Shuyuta Mission, etc. All these functions can be accumulated into 4 categories. First one is technology customization for LSD, economic development and sustainability activities, environment and climatic balancing process or programs, equitable and welfare livelihood creation measures. Then you can see local self-government in the changing scenario shall need with this type of a support to face with their challenges and opportunities, and how they can utilize their opportunities to disseminate these type of knowledge into their own field of activities, utilize the expertise and experiences of such a collective institution or organization in their developmental and welfare activities. That is the most important thing. The role, relevance, scope and responsibilities and the functions of LSE to be changed considerably in the forthcoming days. Economical, environmental and emotional challenges on the LSEA. We are expecting such certain challenges will be there. The most important thing shall be the emotional one. Why? Because LSGs are the closely related governance institution in the state and the country with the people at grassroots level. That is why the emotional satisfaction of the people is very important. And in that sense, the role of GPK or similar organization will be enhanced in the forthcoming period of time. The challenges and opportunities also can be listed out or enumerated. The considerable development decline in the forthcoming days, that may be an important challenge. Low economic and income growth rate, another important challenge. All of we can discuss with that. High risk on environmental and health sector. Then malutilization of human resources, low life security and allied issues, the confidence and cooperation of people, that may be another important thing which can be cited as a challenge before them. Likewise, opportunities also may be there. The responsiveness of LSG, higher rate of participation, ownership and control by the people in their activities, shouldering and sharing of duties with the similar type of organization, convergence and integration of activities, that may be an opportunity. Micro level intervention and direct results is another important thing. Good governance practices, that may be considered as a possibility before them. Right? Then realization of self-reliance and self-governance is the most important thing. Materializing cooperative coexistence and social contract system is the rather important philosophical question behind these activities. We expect that GPK or similar organization can be cited as a local level think tank in this respect, as the previous speakers stated so. The esteemed need for a high-end local knowledge center to address futuristic challenges is the most important thing. Think globally and act locally for better future of grassroots societies. That slogan can be institutionalized and materialized through these type of organization. Voluntary as well as professional streams of expertise can be utilized. GPK itself is based on these two streams: voluntary experts as well as professional expertise. And the Rural Studies Center like GPK can be expected in different field of activities: citizen education, justice education to right-based activities, skill upgradation of local public, capacitization of people's representatives in LSDA, support to innovative initiatives by them, pooling and dissemination of expertise and experience from different parts of the society, and technology sharing and management in between the people, that is most important sectors of activity. Local level planning platform, that is another important concern we are expecting to be discussed in this webinar. Support to be concerned LSDAs with a platform for further planning and developmental activities. The convergence of different sectors, the development, welfare, as well as regulative measures. Locally available voluntary knowledge and capacity shall be utilized as a human resource center. In that respect, we expect mutually supportive groups from the other part of the state as well as the country, from other states also. A flexible and viable structure for local planning platform is to be there in this respect. A social structure organization than a stereotype institutionalized mechanism is to be there for all these purposes. At the end of this presentation, I would like to bring your attention to the future possibilities and probabilities. Quasi-governmental and non-governmental as well as voluntary structures can be utilized instead of sticking on any one particular model. Role identification and incorporation of these local planning platform within the LSD system is a very important challenge before us. Networking with the fellow organizations and institutions everywhere or elsewhere, that is another important thing. Then nationwide common platform for innovative idea sharing is inclusive core areas for future function. Most important thing is ecological and environmental resource conservation and management, as well as the optimum utilization of the resources. Then climatic changes and the green appraisal system development is another important area of function. Spatial planning with the inclusive zonation of sectors with the GIS platform and the geoinformatic panchayat may be another important grassroots level activity. Then economic stabilization and sustainable livelihood system development is another important sector. We expect that the GPK shall function in this respect with an LSDA cooperation. That is, most important thing is food security, food safety activities, gender neutral resource center activities, networking with the similar organization and sharing of knowledge, and acting as an accredited local planning platform for LSDA. These are the different sectors of functioning in future course of time as a center GPK in the forthcoming days. With these words, thank you all of the participants, and we expect a fruitful discussion through the next session. Thank you.
Madam? Okay. We will go to the discussions now, responding to various speeches and presentations. I invite Dr. C.P. Vinod, Chairman of the Local Government Commission, Government of Kerala, to start the discussion. Dr. Vinod?
Yes. So good afternoon all to all, and I'm extremely happy to be part of. Am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So happy to be part of this event organized by Gramina Patanagendram and Killa. So we heard about the beginning of our decentralization program as a movement in Kerala, and how practically Gramina Padana Kendram, like local knowledge centers, emerged in the process, and the vision.
He can come here. Vinod, ഇവിടെ വരാൻ പറയും. അല്ല ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കാം. I think Vinod will join us here. It will be a better option. Join Chira.
Dr. Kathiresan भी आए.
One minute.
Yes, I am here.
ഇല്ല, വിനോദ് ഇവിടെ വരാൻ പറയും. This, I think there is some audio video issues with him, so he will join us within a few seconds here itself.
Just we listened, sorry for the interruption, and listened Professor Subud's presentation about Gramina Pranagandram's activities and about the future plan. Future plan. So now in Kerala also, like in other places, so we have seen how local governments have been effective in handling the situation of COVID-19, and not only during COVID, we have seen during the flood time, so how local government system actively responded to the situation, a crisis situation. So now when we think about the future in a time of big change or whatever is changing, so we are yet to make complete sense of what's actually what's been going on, and the only thing sure is that we can't have the world will change, and what will be the nature of that world that we are going to see. We tried to make sense of what happened in the past and what has been participatory research or participatory governance in the state. We have to look back and see, and there should be some kind of reflective moment, how which are the areas where we failed or which are the areas where we have performed well and why we are able to respond now this in a particular, because it's in a not a normal time. So when we act in a particular way, not in a normal time, and how the normal time, how it will be like that. So there should be greater understanding when we define our future strategies in scaling up, or um, maybe introduce new programs in the area of this local governance. Uh, of course, there are, as we all know, that there are opportunities, and then we face that there is as Prime Minister made this statement about this local, as it is a local, as the new vocal, or the local, the vocal, whatever it is. So this emphasis on local in Kerala has a very special significance, because we also find that, okay, many people from abroad, especially from Middle East, will come back, and then what will happen to the local economy, and how we are going to take care of the people coming back from abroad. So we know that state government has recognized the issue, and then now we plan this Bhakshya Suraksha, the food security, so Subiksha Keralam program. So the one thing that which is launched under different departments, especially main stakeholders, agriculture department and local self-government department. So the concrete actions from the government, how Gramina Padana Kendram can contribute to that program, as a testing one, that how we can list number of programs, number of activities, but if government has planned something, and if we can pitch in that, and then how, because it's a why I'm saying that the participatory research or participatory governance, the way we meant during this plan campaign, people's plan campaign, it is a great experience. we all were students that point of time, attended Gram Sabha, and so it was that kind of massive mobilization and participation of people but the situation now is very different, that we can't have that kind of we don't have that kind of big participation in a big size or even the quality. But then we are institutionalizing some of these aspects. So the institutionalization process, how intelligently, smartly we have to design the role of knowledge centers like Gramina Padana Kendram is very important. So if we take these new programs as a kind of a laboratory setting, where how we are going to use unlike, because if we take this participatory research in a different way, that we were talking about, that academic research is there, but then we approach the academic people or academic institutions or even professional colleges to use the knowledge on day-to-day problem solving or action or problem context, or make them more active in day-to-day local governance. How it is possible? It could be one point that Gramina Padana Kendram can focus upon, how to get all these academic institutions or professional organizations or research organizations, or even individuals who are very with specific technical skills or retired hands, how to make them part of this new programs, and how to institutionalize this one with a long-term perspective. So this is the one point which I would like to highlight, that how we can use the upcoming or the ongoing, this already started, launched program on an experiment base, how we can use our potential to realize greater heights. So it will be a model to other panchayats also. And then second thing is that, because we started this with a panchayat based one, but I would rather suggest that maybe block is and if we have to replicate the model of GPK, could be that block panchayat won't be an appropriate geographical location or the level to have this kind of knowledge center, so that we need a kind of very quality data system. For example, what we faced during this universal housing program, that LIFE, what we call, in the LIFE program, we don't have the correct data, but we have officers sitting in block panchayat specifically for this housing extension activities. So we don't have the number of people who don't have the house in the block, and we have officials and we have officers. So maybe, and then by act also, block has a role which needs to support panchayats, so that blocks, single block or blocks, the group of blocks can come together and form something like Gramina Padana Kendra. So this also, how block can be a good point. And these are the 2 points that just I want to, because there are other people, experienced people like Gangadhar and Mar, so we'll listen to them, and then if anything, we can discuss it again.
Thank you, Dr. Vinod. Now let's move on to Professor Narayana from the School of Policy and Governance, Asim Premji University. Professor Narayana? Professor Narayana can unmute and then start talking.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Very well. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. I'll start. Yeah. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for this opportunity. I had only heard about GPK, and today I had a chance to know more about its vision and its activities in participatory research area. I do not think there is a parallel to this kind of an institution in the entire country, which is that Panchayat running a research institute of this repute. So I'm really glad that I'm part of this webinar. Many things have already been said about how GPK's work can contribute to the post-COVID world, especially in the local governance that's going to evolve to meet certain challenges that the present crisis is going to generate. I don't want to get into specifics because, as the minister was saying earlier, that we are from academic institutions, and we lack the kind of knowledge that you people have from the field. But from an academic viewpoint, looking at the kind of work that's going on in GPK and the kind of the local governance scene that is emerging in the country, I would like to rather just put this question across to all the participants, which is that can the kind of knowledge that is generated in institutions like this, in grassroots institutions like this, grassroots in the real sense of the term, to contribute to some of the big issues that we may have to encounter, both in a larger development context and local governance context in the post-COVID world. So I would specifically touch upon 3 points, and that's all perhaps I would be saying today, and I would be happy to learn from others and others' response to these 3 points. So the first point is this, which is ever since their inception, and also now in the context of COVID-19, the local self-governments have been dabbling between 2 kinds of identity. One identity as a last mile delivery agencies for the programs conceived and designed at the higher levels of government, and the other one, as proper democratic local self-governments with a lot of autonomy in deciding the local development agenda. Now, even during the crisis situation, I have been reading a lot of reports from not only from Kerala but from other parts of the country as well, how the local governments have been roped in to rather face this challenge more effectively, which, as the minister was referring to, would not have been possible only for the union government and the state governments in the absence of the cooperation from the local governments. But even here, what is really happening is that we are seeing this these local governments as actually the last mile delivery agencies of the programs, or for the programs of the higher level governments. But to my mind, it is not an either or situation. It is not an either or situation. In the sense, we cannot conceive local governments only as last mile delivery agencies. We cannot conceive them, given India's federal system, only as isolated, independent third tier of the government, where they can have their own vision of development and they can operate rather independently. So to my mind, at least, it seems that there have to be a healthy balance between these two identities of the local governments, and learning from this new avatar of the Panchayat Raj institutions during the crisis. What kind of lessons we can offer to the country as a whole about how we can imagine local self-governments with the fine balance between these two kind of identities. Because this is a classic debate ever since we had the 73rd and the 74th amendments, whether they are agencies of the higher levels of the government or whether they are independent, autonomous, democratic institutions. I'm saying that it is not possible to imagine an either or situation. We have to have a fine balance, and some of the lessons that we learned during this time will help us rather decide or settle this question, with much more clarity. So this is one idea that I want to throw. The second one is, even a little larger than the idea of local governance itself, which is, while it is true that we have a great example of people's planning campaign in Kerala, and also of the GPDP in the recent times in other parts of the country, etc. We must know that essentially this planning was done as part of a larger national level or global level development imagination. So the local governments are participating, of course, to make a development agenda into a reality. But this development agenda itself is not something locally evolved. It is a larger national agenda, which in itself was adopted from a larger, much larger global development agenda. So this idea of development is production-led, consumerism-led, and we all know that now it's time that we realize that this very model of development needs to be revisited and revised, because this model of creating more and more wants and satisfying them with the production of more and more goods is not going to be sustainable with local governments or without them. So whatever may be the structure of governance that we have to implement it, this very idea of development is problematic. So this is being realized all over the world. So therefore, whether going local means the local people participating in a bigger way in the same old vision of development, or evolving a new model of development in view of all the local experience that we have had, or all the local experiences that COVID has taught us, the previous floods have taught us, the migrants crisis that we have seen recently has taught us. So the question here is that a new vision of development, which is locally informed, which is more suitable and sustainable, locally, should evolve. And what kind of inputs that institutions like GPK can provide in this regard, and how much inputs can, how much and how such inputs can generate a larger national, global level debate about having an alternative vision of development itself is something that all of us should be thinking collectively. So it's a kind of an inductive way of informing, a larger idea. If institutions like GPK can, produce so much local knowledge, this knowledge should not be used only to finding some kind of local solutions, but to something bigger, something which changes the very contour of what we think development at present. What is happening now is that even the local governments are roped in to realize the same old idea of development, the limitations of which are coming out more and more starkly with every disaster that we have been facing. So this is the second point, and the third point, which brings us back to local governments or local governance. We must realize that the brunt of implementing all post-COVID economic revival package will be on the panchayats, because they are the basic units, right? Panchayats or local governments. Now, the question of capacity of local governments, capacity of the bureaucracy, and the capacity of the elected members is therefore very crucial. While states like Kerala may have much better, experience in this, they have been able to evolve the local institutions' capacity, local governments' capacity much more than panchayats elsewhere. Even a more advanced state like Karnataka, which has also got a better record of panchayats, has a lot to sort out with regard to the human resources available at the panchayat level. So much so that the panchayat staff in most of the states are fighting for a long time for their proper employment status, whether they are the state employees of the state government, whether they are the employees of the local government, etc., etc. So, when the status itself is a little, slippery, I don't know what kind of capacity can be built in such a situation. And, we are calling upon them to shoulder more and more responsibility. So in the post-COVID world, if local governments are going to shoulder a much more responsive, so if they are going to play a much more serious role, much more challenging role, then I think we must be paying a lot of attention to this idea of capacity. And now, therefore, if Kerala has a better role model here, I think institutions like GPK, or even Kila, I think Kila has done a lot of work in this regard. So, if some knowledge about what should be the optimum or ideal kind of capacity that should exist at the local level, and how we can create such a capacity to face the post-COVID challenges, is something, if it can be generated, it will be very valuable. So I stop here. So these are the 3 points that I thought I should flag here, and I'll be very happy to listen to the views of others with regard to this and also about the presentation. Thanks once again for giving me this opportunity. And let me also close by saying that as an academic institution, Azim Premji University will be very happy to be part of any possible collaborative efforts to generate knowledge. And it's great once again to learn about the valuable work that's being done by GPK in Trivandrum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Narayana. We will move to Madam Sonalia from the Anode Governance Lab, Bangalore. Sonalia, are you there? Okay.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for the element. I thank you first for inviting me to this webinar by Kila and GPK, and thank you, Jeevan, for reaching out. It's been a good learning experience and session for listening to the Honorable Minister, Madam Sharda, and as well as Dr. Shruth Kumar. Thank you. I will talk on 4 aspects. I'll just give a very brief introduction of what we as Anode Governance Lab do, and then my quick takeaways from the talks till now, and then the core topic for the day on what are the some of my thoughts on what GPK could do to take this forward. Anode Governance Lab, we are a Bangalore-based organization, and our work actually, I think I'm taking off from where Professor Narayana left from his talk, was basically has been on building panchayat institutions, institutional capacities of panchayats, with the belief that any vibrant and learning institutions will adapt and negotiate with the external environment to deliver their mandate. We evolved a structured framework through our work across 75 panchayats in 4 states, which is Karnataka, Jharkhand, MP, Maharashtra. And we have a structured framework to develop and we work with panchayat institutions. We start off with understanding what is the current level of panchayat maturity. And with that, we sort of try to evolve a more customized and contextualized approach to developing the capacities. Anode basically leverages organization development principles, and we also bring in the legal and constitutional frameworks. Sir, I just also wanted to very quickly touch upon my key learnings. In fact, from the Honorable Minister, I was very interested in the reports prepared by each local government, especially on the history. And what he mentioned was about the 10 most important events in the collective memories of people. I think these are if we sort of work like this, then the way we look at bottom-up planning, bottom-up understanding itself is going to shift. Because right now, when we look at GPDP, we are still looking at a fairly technocratic way of functioning. So some of these, collective sort of approaches, I think, will make a lot of sense. To Madam Sharda, I think the questions that she spoke about, especially in the current scenario, where we are looking at solutions and responses for health, livelihoods, food security, then the key question is, how do we ensure local responses are actually well informed? And also the other question of the panchayat as an institution itself. I mean, yes, it has been an largely agent of government policies and government schemes. But to act as a local government and to also look at the regulatory role, I think these are some of the issues that we really need to think about and focus on. Dr. Sharad Kumar, I think your presentations on key supports that we provide to panchayats gave me a lot of insights. Lastly, on some thoughts on behalf of GPK, I think if you look at not Kerala, but other states, and especially since I worked in Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka also, the challenges actually are at 2 levels, right? I mean, the challenges are at the state perspectives. The state's perspective and belief in panchayats, and therefore the status of devolution, the status of state finance commissions. So their own intervention in what panchayats should plan. So we are not just looking at panchayat institutions, but also the state. And as I think Honorable Minister pointed out, the first thing is the response of Kerala state to the panchayats and devolution. So that is something that we need to sort of look at. But what perhaps is more controllable and what we can do more quickly is building the institutional capacity of panchayats themselves. And we are actually, so that they're not acting only as agents of state and implementing government programs and schemes. They need to develop that discipline, those technical abilities to be able to act as local empowered institutions. So what do we need to do that? Couple of ideas as I was listening to everyone was, one is that we need to identify and nurture and celebrate good panchayats across different states, just as we are celebrating panchayats in Kerala. And this will create, because a lot of time we say Kerala is too far for us to sort of reach in the immediate term. So we will have to create some of these centers across states, and we need to invest in them to become the village resource centers like GPK has actually been. And this perhaps may be done along with some local collaborations, but I really found the idea of the village resource center very interesting, and I've gone through your website and I find so many relevant studies which have been done. And I can, in my own experience, identify and think of quite a few panchayats where they have the potential to do this. But in fact, they won't even have dreamt of becoming VRCs right now. But if we start nurturing and introducing these ideas to them, perhaps we may have many more in the country. And the second aspect basically has been that whenever we work with panchayats on different subjects like education, agriculture, health, we have primarily found that the notifications are primarily remained on paper. The devolution, and they haven't been operationalized the way they ought to be. So we need to understand the best practices of, say, Kerala in terms of how the panchayats have actually engaged in these subjects, and we need to document that. Now, I don't know, and I understand this documentation need not be academic, but we may need to have people from different sectors and local governments, departments, etc., to study, which I'm assuming may be already happening and I may not be aware of. But there is a very, very strong need for other states to understand how, say, for example, a department of education at the state level, at the district level, at the block level, and the panchayat are actually coordinating and working together. Because I haven't seen that kind of coordination when I'm working with different states. So some of these things that I think we need to really learn from. I'll stop here. This is what I look forward to listening to the other participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonalia. Now we move on to Dr. Kadireshan from the NARDPR. Dr. Kadireshan?
Yes, sir, I'm coming on.
Yeah. Okay. Please.
Yeah. Am I audible, sir?
Yes. Very well.
Very well. Okay. Yeah. Sir, first of all, very sincere thanks to Kila and also GPK for inviting NARDPR as part of this webinar. It's a very important learning experience for us. From NARDPR, myself, my colleague Dilip are also there. We both are listening from the starting. Actually, sir, I think so many webinars we are attending last 3 months something, but this particular webinar, we thought the day we received that invitation from Kila and GPK, we understood that it has much relevance to NARDPR context. Actually, as Dr. Jai Alaman was mentioning earlier, also something there is very there is a big lacking happening there in the participatory research and also in the dissemination of knowledge. Actually, the title itself is found to be very relevant in the context of NARDPR, particularly our Center for Panchayat Raj. Sir, maybe knowing that last 3 years NARDPR is attempting to in this area just to make it actually, because one of the weakest link was that we don't have much participatory research oriented study in NARDPR, and also that we also felt that there is a big lacuna is there in the dissemination of information across the nation. Being a nodal agency, national level think tank for Ministry of Panchayat Raj, it is obviously we have to cater to the need of the MOPR and all the states information. We are trying our level best to disseminate the information and other things like that, all the things. So this has become more affirmative and very much relevant. We felt only last 3 months actually, starting from the COVID issue from March. When we started listening the first case studies from Kerala, we tried to accumulate the case studies from Orissa and West Bengal, thing, except few states where we could able to get the real practical issues from the village and other thing. All the knowledge what we accumulated from the field are more mechanical and more repetitive, which is not at all cannot be considered as a case study and other thing. So it is becoming very important aspect for us that we realizing NARDPR being a nodal agency for the MOPR, and I think we are realizing that we have to work very closely with the ground level organizations like GPK, particularly a rural study center, these things which is having a very good knowledge and other thing. So we would like to have a one-to-one MOU along with a tripartite agreement with GPK, Kila and NARDPR, so that we can associate in forthcoming our participatory researches, and also how best we can correlate the ground level study into the disseminating into the various other states also. In this context, I am not going in detail into the things, what are the area really lagging and other things like that. I think my friend, my colleague Dilipal sir will be, and he's putting forth in more detailed everything sometimes after my talk actually. So I would like to just highlight what NADPR is looking forward, what type of association we are looking forward with Kila and GPK in this regard actually. Sir, all of you might be knowing that actually GPTP is becoming a buzzword from last 3-4 years along with MOPR. I would like to put it into a very strong some note in this webinar that from 2017-18 I am associated with the MOPR, going all around India, disseminating the GPTP, the new guidelines and other thing, how the thing. But unfortunately, I'm not able to see any real, what is that, quality GPTP exercises happening in village, Gram Panchayat level in all the states. Though a lot of efforts and these things have being done by MOPR and NADPR altogether, except few states which always take Kerala, which has achieved almost 25 years before, and West Bengal, of course, they are moving forward, and some level, I think Karnataka and Orissa, they are coming into some quality level actually. So, but thanks to our former DG, Dr. W.R. Reddy, with continuous advice from Sri Vijayanand sir, and stalwarts like Dilipal sir, everybody, they put forth very strongly that until unless we attain a quality GPTP, there is no purpose of any sustainable development is not going to happen in the village. Considering all these efforts, almost 1.5 years before, NADPR conceptualized a big project. It's an action research project called Developing Clusters, 100+ clusters for sustainable development. Okay, it's called a cluster development program. The purpose of this program was to strengthen the institution, Panchayat as an institution, and at the grassroots level, and make them reach to the level that where they can create a quality GPTP, which will in turn will help in the overrun, long run to the GPs actually. So we always take the Kerala model, these things, which Kerala has achieved almost during 96 to 2001, 25 years before, but still we are struggling to reach out this model to all other states in a successful manner. So this 1-year experiment on this action research project GPTP has given a lot of insights for us, where it's also created a lot of hope for us that we can do it actually, we can achieve it actually. So after seeing some success at Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh and Maharashtra some level, Government of India, Ministry of Panchayat Raj agreed to add 250 more clusters. That means 250 more districts have been selected. Now we are working from this year, nearly close to 350 districts have been identified, and our team is working to develop these clusters of model GPs actually. I think in Kerala, I think only last week it has decided only Wayanad district has been selected as one of the cluster actually. I think we are expecting 2 to 3 Gram Panchayat will be in this project, which is directly coordinated by our team from NADPR. We are going to, we are also put into note in this thing. We are going to take multiple partners in this actually. It's a partnership program. Many CSR organizations are coming forward. Sonali madam from Anod Lab is going to help us in the project, and all these details my colleague Dilip sir will be explaining later. So this creating model GP cluster is one of the main project now we are undertaking from NADPR. Apart from that, under RGSA program, Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan program, our center for Panchayat Raj, last 3 years we are working on a big capacity building program called Transforming India through Strengthening GPs. TISPRI, one project is there, wherein we very closely work with the states to provide handholding support all the GPs, particularly in the capacity building area. These two projects has very high relevance to today's webinar actually. So in all the things, there is a need for knowledge sharing actually, dissemination of knowledge, the experience sharing from one place to other. Particularly in the first case, it is mostly the creating model GP clusters directly going to result in a quality GPTP, which we want to take a model from the Kerala and other thing, and also from the RGSA TISPRI project. We have a lot of states are coming forward to bring people for exposure research and other thing. Keeping these two important projects which we are undergoing, we are implementing next 2-3 years. We would like to have a very close association with the GPK particularly as a rural study center. You have created a wonderful model there, and also Kila. Kila, of course, we are working with Kila from long association for small project, but we wanted to have a very strong and long-term association for exposure visit and creating sharing of knowledge and how best we can document the best practices. Something I think Dr. Jai sir will be knowing that ministry is simply as requested as that you just document the what is the COVID-19 best practices adopted by GP, and I think always our first thought came to only Kila actually. But now their ministry is requested in a different way that it could be in a form of a disaster management actually. While mentioning, I think I heard from Honorable Minister Dr. Thomas sir also mentioning that, and Sarada Madam also mentioning Kerala is now emerging as this thing, one of the best disaster management models in the country. Of course, Orissa is also doing this thing. So this is a right time that after the post-COVID-19 situation, everybody is looking forward that Panchayat should involve very strongly into the disaster management mitigation plan, and ministry also agreed that it has to become compulsorily a part of GPDPX, which was really lacking. Even I can say around only 8 to 10% of the whole Gram Panchayat something they really thought of a disaster management plan and those things, and a lot of research is required in this area also. So we would like to associate in this area also to document the best practices from various Gram Panchayats. I think we can have a very good support from your end also something. So regarding other aspects like how best we can utilize a model GPs actually, how to exchange the experiences from Kerala and other thing like that. Though Sonali Madam was saying that we always little fear that bringing a people from Assam and other thing all the way to Kerala, it takes a lot of expense and I think, but nothing wrong in that. Now it is everything is possible, and every state has a lot of provision. Every the RGCA program is giving a lot of money for exposure visits and other thing, and we would like to have a combined tie-up with Kerala, Kila, and who are coming forward for an exposure visit. I think we will try to see that one 4 days or 3 days exposure visit can be taken to the study center like GPK or any other good ISO centers, GPs of Kerala, that we are seriously planning this area. Apart from that, one of the other key area is which we are looking your support actually. NADPR, I'm putting everything like instead of sharing everything, we look forward to your support. So you know that there is a very critical component called economic development aspects for Gram Panchayat something. Now the post-COVID situation, there are a lot of letters have been written by Ministry of Panchayat Raj through other line ministries that all the line ministries to support to create some economic activity in the Gram Panchayats. We also from NADP are struggling our level best to disseminate all the possible economic development activity in the Gram Panchayats. So we are creating some model projects actually, where successful economic activity can be done, undertaken in every village something. So for that also we really looking forward your support to create some real replicable models which will create some economic activity in the Gram Panchayats. Maybe your success story in Kudumbashri, or maybe other activities in agriculture and other things has shown many ways that it is really a viable projects can be taken up and which can be disseminated very strongly to various locations, various states something. NADPR can act as a bridge between the experiences from your area, and we have we have now in a very strongly I can put in this forum that last 1 year we emerged our center for Panchayat Raj emerged as a strong center to connect with the people. We are trying to connect with a lot of people actually, starting from Kashmir to South India up to Tamil Nadu, and I think we are having very good connectivity and we are getting a lot of responses now from Gram Panchayat Lab. So exchange of knowledge and dissemination of knowledge with the support of participatory research, we can really achieve whatever the things we can dream really actually. I think in the starter inaugural session, minister was very strongly saying that every village is a knowledge hub actually. So we strongly believe that whatever the outcome, whatever the policy advocacy goes to ministry or something, it should emerge from only from Gram Panchayat. not from NIDPR or only from Kila. Actually, okay. So this is very important time now that we have to work together and get more knowledge, more practical outcome-based research outputs, and we will accumulate those things and we will try to disseminate in a national level, and wherever required, this can become a policy point also for the ministry actually. So those are the things I would like to submit from my end from NIDPR. We are really looking forward to get an MOU with GPK, and in a long run, we want to continuously associate with your organization. Thank you very much. I will close now here. We look forward others to others talk, and we will discuss further in the course of discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kadireshan. Now we move on to Ms. Sejal, the Director of Anandi, Gujarat. Madam, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you
Yeah,
hear me
please.
clearly? Yeah. Okay, first, congratulations, and I'm so glad that GPK decided to mark this really important day. I think our own learning from GPK, where Mahila Sarpanches and our team members from several civil society organizations have engaged last year, and through the COVID, on engaging this with this center has been so useful and inspiring to us. So first, let me say that within itself, I see GPK as a unique structure owned by people with its agenda led by people, and a very, very important part of ultimately a local self government has to be guided by local knowledge. So the creation and uh, use and prioritization of what information is useful to us and to the panchayat, and therefore by by extension to the people, is really at the heart of what GPK stands for. And as a model, I think we've seen the complete failure of all the centralized model economically, politically, democratically that we have created, and the disaster it has been. So I really hope that the government of Kerala and Kila together will not only upscale GPKs but also bring it to the rest of the country. Having said that, there are just two pieces of things that I wanted to add. One of the things that Suru, the director, said is their agenda is gender sensitivity. I think 25 years after the Beijing Platform of Action and in this century, and given the preparedness of the leadership of women that has come up in Kerala through Kutumshri, CDS, even otherwise in the panchayats, we've seen some amazing women's leadership. We need to talk of gender transformation. And this process of moving from gender transformation, from sensitivity to transformation, is a process where the young and the older women's collectives have to engage together to reimagine the world. And we understand in the global south that gender is not only about socialization of men and women or the third gender. It really in India would mean whether you're a mother of a son, daughter, which caste you belong to, how able you are, what age did you get married, what level of ability, disability you have. And I think this is in great nuance probably understood in the Kerala politics and the administration. And in many ways, they've created very, very strong women's collectives of the marginalized women in the rural areas with, almost coverage of 75%. How do we bring women's knowledge to the fore? How do we use it to partner them into building the agenda for the future, foregrounding their voices and experiences? And for that, I think there is a tremendous opportunity for GPK to take a leadership and demonstrate that. One of the things that we find useful to do, and maybe it's not only because we have a much lower rate of literacy, but there are communities and women have from generations passed on their histories. Just like you have history, you have her stories. And her story comes in many forms. It may come in the form of songs, it may come in the form of sayings and rites and rituals around festivals that are developed, and these are so valuable. As a culture, with the onslaught of this universal modernistic view of what development is, GPK is in such a fantastic position to enable the archiving and building of, almost becoming a gurukul locally, which enables the citizens of the panchayat to make and write and record their own histories, her stories, even as they reimagine the future and work towards that. So I think apart from what we say very tangibly are development results, and I think GPK is doing a fine, has a fine lead in it. Identifying livelihood resources, mapping all their water and natural management resources, using advanced technology to do that. But let's not forget that social transformation must walk hand in hand with technology transformation. Technology is ultimately only a tool to the extent that the human beings can live in harmony with each other and with nature. So I really look forward to a continued engagement. Since NIRD is also sitting here, one of the most important roles that we found useful in GPK is people to people exchange. And let's use this village resource centers to bring elected women representatives from across the country, Dalit representatives from across the country, and also have a mutual dialogue and sharing. We are happy not only to associate with GPK, but should you ever require our help, please don't hesitate to call. Congratulations, and really hope you grow from strength to strength. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Sejal. Now we move on to Mr. Prakash Kumar from Pradhan. Prakash?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, sir.
You are audible. Please continue.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, sir, to invite Pradhan in this webinar. And I am giving thanks to Kila and GPK for organizing this event. Actually, Pradhan is working in 7 states in India, and I am based in Jharkhand. So whatever I will share, it is experiences from Jharkhand actually. In Jharkhand, Pradhan has been working for the last 2 decades, but with Panchayat, we started our engagement for the last 3 years. Eno is our knowledge partner. So we work together to strengthen the Panchayat. In the Panchayat, where we strategically engaged, we get very positive response in this COVID-19 situation also. To respond to COVID-19, actually our Panchayat has set 2 major objectives. First is that nobody should go hungry, and second is disease containment. So to respond to this first objective, Panchayat has prepared the list of vulnerable with the support of civil CBOs and Gram Sabha, and the persons who are food insecure, old and lonely, widow, single women, homeless, landless, terminally ill, like the person who are outcasted by the society due to social stigma, that type of person into this category. So to address the issues of this category, Panchayat took 3 major strategies. First is the fundraising initiation. So our SHG members, Panchayat representatives, some block officials, our Pradhanites professionals, all contributed as much as possible. And I am happy to share that within 1 week, Panchayat able to mobilize almost 11 to 12 lakh rupees. And they purchased bulk of grains, pulses, oil, and they supported to the vulnerable. And second is that time our state government also allocated 10,000 rupees as an emergency fund to each Panchayat of Jharkhand. So through this fund also, Panchayat could able to support this vulnerable family. And meanwhile, we also explored many donors, and finally Azim Premji Philanthropic Initiative, Axis Bank Foundation also granted some fund in Jharkhand, and through this was also a great help. Through this fund also, Panchayat supported to this vulnerable family. So through these major strategies like fundraising initiation, the state fund to panchayat and the fund from the donor, panchayat could able to support the vulnerable family, and they able to address the issue of actually hunger. So this is the good practices what become best practices in Jharkhand. And second is the disease containment. Actually, though government circulated many government circular for these precautions of disease, but it has not been circulated in the entire pockets of the villages. That time, Panchayat actually took responsibility for this awareness creation. We took content from the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and we translated into local languages like Kuruk, Sadri, and Panchayat through wall painting, through miking, loudspeaker, and through pamphlet. The awareness has been spread out in the interior pockets of the villages. And one thing what Panchayat did in this area, actually migrants started returning to the village. And in initial time, there was no proper guidelines to quarantine them. So Panchayat took responsibility to set up the Panchayat Bhavan in quarantine center. And suddenly the all Panchayat Bhavans in Jharkhand, in our area actually, converted into quarantine centers. Our SHG members contributed bed rolls, and Panchayat arranged food and other personal protective kits from 14th Finance Commission fund that time, and able to quarantine all the migrants who returned from the different cities. And one thing also Panchayat took responsibility, because in block level block control room has been constructed, and our block officials, Panchayat representatives, CSO representatives, CBO representatives come together in one platform, and they review what are the work we did, what is our next plan. So this block control room concept actually highly appreciated and able to respond to COVID-19. So through these initiatives, Panchayat able to tackle the COVID-19 situation. But still there is some problems in our areas. Actually, the number of migrants is very high. I can take data in one blocks. The migrants number is almost more than 5,000, 6,000 numbers. And the block and Panchayat has no capacity to quarantine them. And after simple screening, they are sending for home quarantine. But in home quarantine, people are not maintaining the precautions measures. So the disease, the positive cases increased, has been increased day by day. So this is the major problems. And second problems is the health facility is not as much as what is actually required. Because I can give you data, 3 blocks like Palkot, Basi and Kamdara, there are 44 health sub centers. Out of these 44, 6 are never opened. Only 11 are opening regularly, and 37 health sub centers are irregular. One day they are opening in 15 days or 7 days interval. So this is the major problems. So now Panchayat is thinking to functional these health sub centers, and MGNRGA work is also one major option, and 15th Finance Commission fund is the major option in the current situation. So now Panchayat is focusing how they utilize this 15th Finance Commission fund for the strengthening of Panchayat and to support this vulnerable family, and how to use MGNRGA fund to support this community. So this is the situation in Jharkhand. It is all from my side actually. Yeah.
Thank you, Prakash.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
then now we move to Dr. Rajesh Kumar Sinha. Rajesh is from NIRDPR. Rajesh?
Yes.
Please. You are audible, and then you can continue. Please.
Yeah. So first of all, I thank Kila and GPK for inviting me to this very important discussion. Already, 2 persons are there from NIRD, center head of the Panchayati Raj has spoken, and DK Pal is going to join. So I won't take much time. I also endorse the idea of having a kind of facilitation center, maybe at the cluster level or at the block level, which can facilitate this creation of local knowledge and dissemination and for positive change or the development, local development. And actually, this was recognized way back, I think in 2008 or 9, one national capacity building framework came into place by Ministry of Panchayati Raj. That national capacity building framework recognized role for a panchayat resource center, at different levels. However, at the state level, SPRCs were set up. At district also, DPRCs were set up. But further beyond, like block resource centers and the panchayat resource centers were never set up. So maybe that kind of proposal needs to be revived once again, and at the national level, and experience of GPK and other like Pradhan and like knowledge lab and all that governance lab needs to be shared at the national level, so that this can be adopted by Ministry of Panchayati Raj and other departments. Similarly, like experiences from the cluster facilitation team of MGNREJ. MGNREJ has experience with cluster facilitation team where it has roped in NGOs. I think Pradhan was also part of that. Then NRHM has mother NGO. That experience can also be accessed and analyzed. Then for sanitation, we have key resource centers. So many key resource centers are there. Like I think Vivekanand Mission also is one key resource center. So those experiences can be compiled, analyzed. Some learnings can be called out, and then panchayat resource center and facilitation center or something can be advocated. So I fully endorse this idea, and like GPK can and Gila can come in more strongly for it. And in that context, I see that there are certain opportunities also. Like GPDP is one such opportunity. In 2015-16, under the leadership of Madam Sarda Madam only, Kerala model has only been adopted. But while the process of the Kerala was adopted, the facilitation, the kind of community mobilization that Kerala facilitated during the People's Plan campaign, that was never facilitated. That never happened in other states and other districts. So some kind of that gap which has been identified, that needs to be filled, and perhaps these kind of facilitation center or resource center will fill that gap of kind of providing facilitation support for quality GPTP or participatory and convergent GPTP. And in that, I think the present proposal of having 250 model GP clusters, which I think DK Pal sir will be talking about, should be utilized in more aggressive manner. And another opportunity, I see that social audit is another opportunity, because what it has been highlighted that while we have recognized the delivery role or the agency role of the panchayats, we have not been able to appreciate the governance role of Gram Panchayats. So what I personally feel is the two most important governance role is, one is planning and second is monitoring or social audit. So in both there is opportunity of facilitating community participation. There is an opportunity in both of creating local knowledge, disseminating that local knowledge, and kind of conscientization, then bringing local change. So GPTP and social audit, I feel, is a very important opportunity which we need to utilize. Another, I think, because now that because of the post-COVID, because of the COVID situation, uh, more emphasis on self-reliance, or as Honorable PM has told, being vocal for local, uh, has emphasized for local economic development. So there is already a provision under RGSA for preparing projects by Gram Panchayat for local economic development. So these kind of resource centers or facilitation centers can help Gram Panchayats prepare, execute, and also monitor these different projects for local economic development. So there are various opportunities. There are certain experiences. So let us connect the dots. Many organizations are working. The organizations in Priya network has certain experience. Then Kila has experience. Many experience are there. So let us collaborate and kind of network, and then use these opportunities available in the form of GPTP, social audit, model GP cluster, self-reliant, rural India, and work towards it. Thank you. That is from my side.
Thank you, Rajesh. Now we go on to my colleague, Dr. Peter M. Branch, Associate Professor from Kila. Peter, please.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes. Perfect.
So again, thanks for this great opportunity. I just participated research in changing scenario. I think I try to focus on the changing scenario, and the changing scenario I try to synonymously use with COVID-19. So maybe how we can move forward in these difficult circumstances, also based on some of our experience with Kila previous research programs, and how this new normal situation is posing a lot of challenges to the research activities, both big and large level. It is posing a lot of challenges. One level, we need to keep the safety and security of the researcher as participants of the research program. So maybe in a participatory research mode, there is no participants. Of course, we have all the researchers. So security is very much important. And here, people-centric research programs or otherwise a participatory research program is always centered around mobilizing the people, centering around them, asking their feedback, and relationship counts a lot. So maybe at this level, during the COVID situation, we don't know how long it goes on. Some people say it's at least 1 year. We may need to restrict ourselves with different forms of research agenda at this time. So maybe understanding that participatory research is facing a lot of challenges in this situation, and more specifically the young researchers, the young students, the interns. So those students and young researchers who have a lot of opportunities previously, now it is restricted also. Maybe it is a lot of challenges for them. And here we know the Kila is receiving a lot of interns, the young researchers during summer vacation, everything. But now we have to limit to few online interns only. So these are some of the challenges posing. And there is a new word now used, it is infodemic. So we have fast spread of accurate as well as inaccurate information on something else is going on. So all these challenges we have to address during this time. So maybe how research shall be in a new normal, situation. I think starting from the formulation cycle to the action cycle, the different research cycle should orient or keep all these in mind. The design shall be remote data collection methodology. For that, we need new skills and techniques. There are a lot of online solutions. And while we go for online solutions, we have to address digital literacy issues, the issue of internet, bandwidth, and some of the respondents getting dropped out. All these issues need to be, tried out. And while going through some of the literature available, because during this COVID time also, lot of individuals and research organizations were on or are on with both qualitative as well as quantitative research techniques, participatory as well as traditional techniques they have been trying out. So here, generally people feel that the researchers or the research institutions should equip themselves. Their skill should be updated for such sort of online platforms. That's generally agreed by all the researchers as well as the experts who are in this field during these difficult circumstances. So maybe we feel during this time, even when we talk about participative research, I think we may need to have a combination of qualitative as well as quantitative techniques. The needs of the marginalized and getting their feedback is very much important also. More specifically on a disaster angle and a pandemic situation like COVID requires or demands that researchers should go and meet the marginalized people and ask for the feedback. And Hila has a very specific experience based on 2018 flood. We conducted elaborate participatory research programs, asking for the feedback of the affected population, getting near to them. The one could be something called the key informant interviews and the focus group discussions, and getting the feedback from the elected members. Kila also, collected around 25 good stories, real experiences. All these are a matter of great importance during a COVID or pandemic situation. That means we have to go ahead with research and research agenda on a participatory angle, more specifically to meet the emerging needs of the marginalized communities, where it could be children or women, the divorced or the aged, the differently able or the people living in hostel areas, the lowland area. All that we may need to understand. Maybe the COVID situation, keeping its own limitations, we may need to devise such techniques. I am reminded of one of my personal experience in the early 1990s, where we had the sexual health programs related to HIV/AIDS, and we used to apply a very important technology called peer education. Peer education is to get insiders' perspectives. It's like participant observation, to get the realities from within. So peer education, maybe at this point of time, we can even tell that peer educators are the local researchers. So coming to the local government and participatory research, and respected minister was trying to tell about the very importance of generating data at the local level, and we need to be vocal also, he was trying to say. So here the word local is gaining much importance at that level. So we have the local government, the local action, the local market, and now I may say it's a local research. That is where the institutes like GPK is getting importance. It's a local research. At least for the coming 1 year, I feel that local research should be given more priority. Every time we should give priority, and keeping in mind of the restrictions or restricted environment that we are getting around, the local research should get priority. I may say, I don't know whether I, going beyond, dream is a bit high. Everybody should be a researcher. And Hila, under the leadership of the Professional Director General, we had some good, intervention at that level also. We were trying to invest on the local governments, the elected leaders, how they can be better researchers. The two of the, postgraduate diploma as well as the diploma programs that our team was managing, we were also trying to create researchers among the elected members. Maybe the coming 5 years, starting from October or November, the focus shall be how we can invest on the local governments, the elected leaders, the officials, the experts, and the volunteers to be the local researchers. So even when some issues like COVID disaster is happening, the local research, the research agenda will go on. Just like, during these months, even when we had a lot of issues and struggles, the local government, the leaders, the elected members were going around, meeting the people, collecting some information. So it was researching. The research activity was actually going on during last months also. So maybe we may need to institutionalize it. We are sure we have institutions for doing research at the local level, under the local government umbrella, the working groups, APOS. The working group is having lot of research activities. The status studies they have to produce. The status studies is coming out with a lot of formal as well as informal research programs. So it is informed planning is happening place. I feel now it is also time that the aged become part of the research agenda of the local level. We have aged leadership emerging in several of the panchayats. The farmers emerging as the researchers at the local level, being part of the working group called agriculture. The children becoming part of researches or research agenda of the local governments. And we feel even at the differently abled sector, the parents and caregivers of the differently abled people, they are coming out with a lot of research agenda, the needs and priorities. So all these things we may need to give priority in the coming years to happen. I'm directly telling you one example. We have some panchayats in Kerala for evolving child data or child status studies. The students were engaged, the child leaders were engaged. What happened? Because they were involved in collecting information, collecting data as young researchers, they also were made aware of some of the issues that the children of the locality are facing. And now they entered into action frame also. So that level, when we start engaging such sort of categories in carrying out the research agenda, so we may get direct information, the primary data at the high quality level also. And to the last point, local governments should be resource centers. There should be research centers. Local government should have repositories, knowledge repositories. With or without some of the institutions like GPK, it is expected that local government should be knowledge generating institutions, because we are going on with the people-led participatory planning agenda. So here, all these things together, maybe to sum up, institutes like KILA should aim at creating a set of researches at the local level under the leadership of the local governments, and for that separate training also maybe need to be given to the elected representatives and other related actors as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Peter. Now we move on to Sri Rajendran Nair of the Harita Kerala Mission. Hello, Sri Rajendran Nair. Okay.
Hello. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Good evening, all of you. First of all, let me express my sincere thanks to KILA and GPK for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this webinar. Gramina Padana Kendram has been doing a lot of things for the last 2 decades in strengthening the participatory and decentralized planning program. Now, I think it's high time GPK changed its modus operandi, of which many points were suggested by Dr. Surat Kumar sir in his presentation and by other discussants. Along with that, what I have to suggest is that organizations like GPK has to concentrate more in making the LSGIs aware of their strength and capacities. We always speak about strengthening the local bodies. We have been speaking about it for the last 25 years. But have we sufficiently make the LSGIs aware of the areas in which they have sufficient strength and capacity? I believe that till the time of the Kerala flood 2018 and 19, the LSGIs had almost no idea that they could do this much things in managing a disaster like that. Till the time of COVID-19 outbreak, the LSGIs did not believe that they could do this much activities in managing a pandemic. When a Gram Panchayat in Trivandrum district faced a situation of shortage of land for distributing to the landless people as part of the LIFE mission, they could get an area of more than 3 acres from a single person as donation. All these things show that LSGIs, even in Kerala, realized their capacities and strength only when an unavoidable situation arrives. If they utilize these capacities and strengths in the development, welfare, and service areas, I think wonders would happen in the LSGIs in Kerala. So all these things show that as we conduct mock drills by the fire and rescue teams to check and assure the proper working of a system, certain mock drill type activities are to be conducted with the LSGIs in Kerala to make them aware the level of activities they can rise up to. For example, when an issue of a waste management affects lives of people in a particular area, what action, including regulatory measures, can be taken by the local body? How it can be organized? How can it be implemented? These things are to be brought into notice of the local self-government institution with the help of certain special type of exercise. So I suggest that along with the activities suggested in the presentation and in the discussion, organizations like GPK should start working in this area also. I repeat, certain special exercises are essential to make the local self-government institutions to realize their strength and capacity. And I think Gramina Padana Kendram and Kila and other similar organizations can do a lot of things in this regard. Looking forward to such developments in future. I conclude my words. Thank you.
Thank you, Sri Rajendran Nair. Now we move on to Sri Dilip Kumar Pal from the NID PR. Dilip sir, okay, good.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. The center head, Panchayati Raj, NID PR, and Dr. Rajesh Sinha, Dr. Kathy Rishan and Dr. Rajesh Sinha have already placed on demand some of the things which we expect from Kerala, Kila, GPK, and other Gram Panchayats. Now, it was very interesting to listen to the speech of Dr. Thomas Isaac. It reminded me of a wonderful experience of mine to see a development report in each and every Gram Panchayat I visited in Kerala in 2003. So that prompted us with an opportunity of putting it into the GPDP guideline, of which Dr. Joy Laman is co-author, and I also had an opportunity to contribute profusely in the preparation of the GPDP guideline. So development status report. Many of the things have emerged from Kerala. That is a great thing about Kila. To visit a Kila Gram Panchayat is like visiting an exhibition. It's like visiting a museum of panchayats. And it is really outstanding to think about this, an institution like GPK. It is really unthinkable by lakhs of Gram Panchayats, I mean 2.53 plus the number of Gram Panchayats, it is unthinkable. And many of the achievements of Kerala Gram Panchayats are unthinkable. So this gives us an opportunity to look at Kerala as a source of inspiration to all the panchayats which are functioning or malfunctioning or not functioning in the country. A great thing about Kerala, which is a lesson to all of us who are trying to install good panchayats in the country, that left or right, this passion for decentralization, this political will are never missing in Kerala. This strong political will, administrative will, all people talk in the same language. So now that I am in NIDPR, working as a project team leader for an national research project and a project for model clusters, having around 1,500 gram panchayats in all the states and union territories, I wonder how we could bring these model GPs closer to the best ones in Kerala. So that is a major concern. Dr. Kathiresan has very well stated that we need to have a memorandum of understanding with both GPK and KILA and also other institutions. We have to have a detailed interaction with Dr. Ilaman and of course under guidance of Mr. S.M. Janand, who is our advisor, our mentor in getting it done, in framing this project. The ministry has laid a great faith on us. So with this backdrop, let me express a few expectations from GPK and also from Kila and other Gram Panchayats in Kerala. What I observe, although India is a democratic country, this is my personal view. This is not an NIDPR view, or this is not a view of anybody else. This is my personal view. I find democracy to be practiced very rarely in administration, in political system, in panchayats. Majority of the panchayats in our country are under different kinds of capture. Elite capture, husband capture, political capture. Now, in many parts of the country, I find Don capture. Captured by hegemony. There is hardly any democracy. Is it possible for this Karakulam Gram Panchayat? Definitely possible, because I believe in many Gram Panchayats in Kerala these things are happening. How to bring democracy to a fine level of functioning, where every decision is taken with pure democracy, democratically. All the standing committees function democratically. The Gram Sabhas, Ward Sabhas, and all the local level institutions, they function democratically. And Gram Panchayat function as a body corporate with observing all the democratic value, so that we can take people from J&K to Andaman Nicobar to Kerala and show, look how democracy is prevailing in each and every functioning. There I have some other expectations like economic development for the most marginalized sections, the assetless and the poorest. Of course, there are a lot of things to learn from the Kudumbashree program. If we look at the indicators, we find that there is still poverty and still there are assetless people. How to establish economic development models for them, so that we can show people from across the country, look how economic development can take place, income generation can take place, employment generation can take place, cropping intensity, changing the cropping pattern, and other agriculture and primary level activities can take place, and where even assetless and the poor people can also participate and get advantage. So we are expecting such economic development models from KILA and also from GPK. And other institutional, aspects of institutional capacity, like resource mobilization. So about resource mobilization, I have found very few states in the country other than Kerala, West Bengal, Maharashtra, of course, because of the state policy, Karnataka, a little bit of Chhattisgarh, Assam, and sporadically here and there. This resource mobilization concept is not understood by majority of the elected representatives across the country. How to bring into them the requirement of this thing, resource mobilization, without which there can be no planning. Without resource mobilization, there can be no discretion, and without discretion, there can be no planning. How to motivate them about that? So I would request Kila and also the other participants who are listening to this program, who are attending this program, particularly we want to learn from Kerala how resource mobilization can be made into a reality and quality GPTP. Whatever is going in the name of GPTP is just to get some activities, mostly by state dictates. They prepare a table and upload on Plan Plus. That is what is happening. Very few quality GPTPs we can see. How to get it done? So we want to partner with Kila and GPK in particular. Kila is always our mentoring institute. GPK, we want GPK to be an epitome of local governance, a model of models, a destination of destinations. So with this expectation, I end here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And now we move on to Dr. Seema from GIPAD. Dr. Seema? Dr. Seema, are you there? Hello? 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 Dr. Seema? Dr. Seema, we can't hear you. There's a connectivity problem there.
Good evening.
Dr. Seema? Can unmute and try.
Yes, I can see you. I can hear you also. But can you hear me?
Yeah, now it is good. Now you are there. Okay, please continue.
Yeah, hello.
Hello. Please continue. Please continue.
Good evening, sir. Good evening to all of you. First of all, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to be part of this session.
I think there is a problem there. Actually, there is echo, and then it's also not clear.
Sir, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Hello.
Yes. We can hear you now. We can hear you now. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh no. I think.
So first of all, I thank all of you, especially Kila and. Hello.
Yeah, please try again. Please try. Yeah.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible, but breaking. The voice is breaking.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Maybe I'll again get connected. Maybe the next speaker can start.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll just try to check the connectivity issues.
Okay. Shall we come back to you after the next speaker? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, shall we come back to you after the next speaker?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
Sir, you will come back again.
We'll call you. We will call you off phone and then finalize. By that,
Yes, sir.
yeah. So we will move on to Dr. Rajesh of the IRTC Palakkad,
Sure, sir.
and we will come back to Dr. Seema soon. Dr. Rajesh? Dr. Rajesh? Dr. Rajesh, please unmute. Dr. Rajesh? Okay. Again, we will go to Dr. Jibini, my colleague in Kila, and then we will come back to both of you, Seema, Dr. Seema and Dr. Rajesh. Dr. Jibini?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here.
Yeah, you are audible. You are audible. You can start.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Good evening, all dignitaries, discussants, and participants. Very glad for giving me an opportunity to share ideas and thoughts on this topic. My colleague already had shared ideas regarding the changing scenario and the challenges. Here, I would like to contribute on importance of participatory research on local governance and sharing my experience on research process. The outbreak of COVID-19 has radically transformed our lives. As things stand, we have to move ahead, dealing the uncertainties of the new era. And the local government also needs to be prepared for any such eventuality. In the current scenario, the local governance should act as change agents. Here comes the importance of real-time evaluation, as it provides insights and lessons for all stakeholders to capture current scenario and responses required. For the real-time evaluation to take place, there should be participatory research and knowledge dissemination. The role and scope of it in this period and in the future is going to increase definitely. So here, I'm saying the scope of participatory research in local governance can be in 3 dimensions. First is to highlight key strategies and actions required in the changing scenario. Second, to analyze the gaps and opportunities to these responses. Third, to put forward recommendations towards rapid, comprehensive, and systematic approaches in the both in short term and long term. For this, communities' responses should be seen as key for further planning and implementing the projects, as the needs and wants of the community has changed drastically in the current scenario. At this juncture, we have to analyze what wider potential of participatory research in the hope that this provides ample opportunities for development agencies, both at local and national level, researchers, consultancies, and institutions. Here I come to the inaugural address of Honorable Minister of Finance and COIR, that participatory research is different from academic research. Participatory research is not simply a research method, but a methodology, and the key elements are participation and collaboration. This approach departs from conventional research in their emphasis on collaboration, transformation, and reflection, wherein in all these areas, the local government is having key role to play. Both in principle and in practice, these methods entail collaboration between researchers and communities and aim to be transformative by enabling action and rely on continuous reflection as an integral part of the actions undertaken. Am I audible, sir? Hello? Hello?
Yes. Please continue.
Okay, here I like to point out one of the strengths of participatory research is incorporating local community level perspectives on a particular decision problem that will lead to different solutions, as Local people usually know their local area better than anyone else, and so can be reasonably be expected to provide detailed insights into local phenomena. Here again, I am referring to the inaugural remarks of the inaugural address that every village is a knowledge hub. Incorporation of local knowledge is clearly the major strength of participatory research. It contributes to the development of knowledge while at the same time be relevant for and potentially improve local realities and livelihoods. About knowledge dissemination, people on the whole want to be informed better about issues that affect them. In contrast to traditional or non-digital methods, new forms of participation and knowledge dissemination based around ICTs are evolving. These include online discussions, web surveys, decision support systems, etc. Thus, ICTs are not only breaking down key barriers, but also opening wide door of opportunities to both for participatory research and knowledge dissemination. So what can be the role of LSGIs in the current scenario? The principal activity would be tools and concepts for doing participatory research are to be promoted and implemented. GPK, other training institutes, academic institutes can take major roles. The capacity and resources of these institutes can be utilized to build on existing strengths, that is, raise awareness among decision makers about the potential of participatory research, further research into methods of incorporating local knowledge, and further research into the methods of communicating these knowledge to the public. So regarding sharing on my experience, research experience, Kila had done various researches and we had used participatory research in HRML area, that is, it comprises of 11 GPs, to identify the perspectives of local community to collect people's aspirations on sustainable development, and we are on the next way to make their aspirations into reality. Currently, we are again doing research focusing on scheduled tribes, where we are using all the digital tools. We are what all things we can utilize over there for data collection, information and dissemination, participation, etc. With the help of participation of local community itself. Lastly, when we are saying all the possibilities of participatory research and knowledge dissemination, there are remote places where there is least or no accessibility in terms of digital or conveyance. There we have to design innovative methods for participatory research process, and this is also an interesting area where academic research institutes can develop for new methodologies to reach out for participatory research. So anyway, participatory research is a wonderful tool in organizing people, because already I had told in part, I had used to a certain extent participatory research in HRML area to identify the perspectives of community. So when we focus on this especially when we focus on the marginalized community, they will be first hesitant to come forward and to share their ideas. And once we are able to overcome, they will come up with their interest, knowledge, and throw light to the process. This process improves the conditions of participants in unexpected ways, not simply in terms of identified project outputs and outcomes, but as a source of possibilities of change, that is transformation. So the LSGIs should take steps to promote participatory research, giving emphasis on collaboration, transformation, and reflection, which are the integral parts of participatory research. For sure, using this method in the local governance can achieve the goal of sustainability. So these are the things I would like to share, and once again thanking all of you for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jibini. Dr. Seema, are you there now? Dr. Seema, are you able to reconnect?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, please try.
Yeah.
Good evening to all of you, and I thank Kila and GPK for this opportunity given to me to be part of this discussion. First of all, also I appreciate the enormous work that GPK has done in the field of local self-government. And I also feel that since this organization has a vast experience on different aspects of local self-government, their expertise could be taken up by states in areas which the states feel that they can use their expertise in areas like disaster management or citizens education. I think that's a very key area which many states perhaps can look up to. Local plans for, particularly in these times, for economic revival, water management, which is also a concern. I think with the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of issues have also come up for all the states, particularly in the area of health, mental health, social problems which are arising in the states. So these could all be the areas which could be looked at for GPK's help. I also feel that GPK could be also, I mean, the expertise could also help in making states develop their resource centers, also sharing of best practices, which could really be of help. As far as participated research is concerned, I think I would like to cite the DP experience, which even we in Goa had done. And I think, and for that matter, even any other type of participatory research, or you call it action research, or where the community is also engaged, there are a few concerns. One is time, second is pace, third is sustaining the momentum of activities which are undertaken in that particular maybe project or that study, and fourth is facilitation. So I think this is something which anyway has been a concern, and now with the post or with the COVID-19 scenario, these challenges or these concerns will be even more important. And therefore, even when we did GPDP, we realized that initially panchayats, took up the planning, took up activities related to preparing their plans, but then somewhere they were going a bit slow, so someone was needed to push them, that making them take up their work at a more faster pace, getting them again sort of charged up to continue with the. So that type of work also is important, and therefore that continuous facilitation sometimes becomes important. And I think organizations of uh, of this nature, like GPK or similar organizations, can actually be a great help in this regard. So hand holding support, uh, helping panchayats develop partnerships, because if they have people to help them, by and large I feel panchayats are basically good. They are willing to do the work, or they are willing to do work for the people, but sometimes they are lost. They need guidance, they need some technical support, and I think these are the areas where organizations can help. As far as partnerships are concerned, and we at our SRD Goa, we have also been trying to look at partnering with educational institutions, and just recently, in fact, the reports have just come in today. We involved 25 educational institutions to get engaged with 191 village panchayats and 14 municipalities to look at various issues related to tradition, getting information on agriculture, forestry, fisheries, traditional artisanry, tourism, hospitality, skill sets, gaps that could be identified, which are all going to get put into a report, and it's actually forming a part of the economic revival plan for the state of Goa. So such type of areas, I mean, wherein you have the academic inputs which support the field level what do you say, experience, which can make the studies or such projects more qualitative and more useful. So these are some points that came to my mind, and I thought I could share this with you. So that's all from my side. So thank you once again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Seema. This session is actually coming to a close now. We have overshot by only 10 minutes. I think it's a real achievement considering the number of discussions, and all of them have got their due share of time, I hope. Anyway, now in between, there have been a lot of enthusiasm, especially comments and suggestions from many people who are actually viewing this webinar, and many have shared their own experiences. I mean, for example, Mr. Jacob Isho had shared that as part of the IDDP and local development plan program, they have developed a lot of materials, documents, and papers based on participatory research. And there are also other agencies which have mentioned that such kinds of initiatives have been undertaken in many parts of India. Thank you all for closely watching and giving comments to this session, as well as for all the discussants who have contributed during this session. Now we are moving to the valedictory session, where Dr. K.N. Harilal, member of the Kerala State Planning Board, who has almost spent 10 years as the member dealing with decentralization and local governance in the State Planning Board. I mean, he will give the presidential address, followed by the valedictory address by Sri S.M. Vijayanand. So over to Dr. Harilal for the presidential address of the valedictory session. Dr. Harilal. Okay. I can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
Shall we start?
Yes. You are audible. Good.
Yeah. First of all, let me congratulate Kila, Dr. Joy, Gramina Padana Kendram, Dr. Suhurt Kumar and his colleagues for making this very successful webinar possible. In fact, I missed the inaugural session. I couldn't listen to Dr. Isaac's inaugural speech, but I could learn quite a lot about that inaugural speech because many of the later speakers referred to his speech and highlighted certain ideas. And then, of course, even though I missed the inaugural session, I had the opportunity to listen to many presentations in the previous session. And I'm very happy to note that a very good cross-section of experts in the area of local governments and local planning participated in the previous session. Representatives of various institutions like NIRD, Pradhan, and scholars from other areas, researchers participated in the sessions. And previous session, of course, there were many speakers, but everybody sort of adhered to the discipline of time constraint. Now, as the chairperson of this session, valedictory session, I think I should also stick on to time. We have a tendency to take more time. Dr. Joy, how much time can I take? 5 or 10 minutes? What's the time limit?
10 to 15 minutes is fine. Oh, 10 to 15 minutes is fine.
Oh, okay. I shall try to be more brief. I'll not take 15 minutes, maybe around 10 minutes I'll take and wind. In fact, 6 years ago, we carried out a study
And I can see Mr. Jagajeevan there. He was also part of the team which studied the development experience at the local level. And one of the recommendations of that study was to sort of start village resource centers, kind of planning organization at the village level, at the level of local governments. Because now we realize that there is such potential. Studying the experience of Gramina Padana Kendram and various other micro level kind of research centers or researchers who were helping local governments. And when the new government came to power in Kerala, when we developed our guidelines for local level planning, there was a provision to start establish planning samadhis in every local government. Asutrana Samadhi for every local government. The idea was that there should be a proper think tank which provide research support to the local government. And in many panchayats and in many municipalities, this Asutrana Samadhi had worked and really contributed to the planning process and also the implementation process in local governments. But unfortunately, this couldn't be done in every panchayat. In fact, in majority of the panchayats, this Asutrana Samadhi, of course, they came into existence for name's sake, but they were not properly allowed to function properly as they should have. But the successful Asutrana Samadhis, planning committees, which work with local governments, suggest the importance of such research support and support of think tank at the local level. Now, whether you have a formal Asutrana Samadhi or local research center or not, in fact, in Kerala, we have informally groups of researchers supporting local governments. And that's a major source of strength of local governments. You get into any kind of activity, whether it is the resistance against COVID-19 or in the case of flood also. In fact, local governments are able to put together group of knowledgeable persons, people who can support the local government in terms of research, in terms of gathering of knowledge at the local level. That's a major source of strength of Kerala's local governments, and that tradition is continuing. And I'm sure that Gramina Padana Kendram, experience of Gramina Padana Kendram here in Trivandrum had certainly helped the development of this idea of research support at the local level. Now, coming to the kind of challenges the new situation is presenting before local governments, Gramina Padana Kendram, KILA, and all decentralization enthusiasts in Kerala as well as outside Kerala. Now, we all know that the COVID pandemic is changing the world in a major way. There is a kind of de-globalization taking place. And the impact of COVID-19 is going to last for long. And one major problem that all the countries of the world are likely to face is disruption in the international division of labor. International trade is suffering a lot. International division of labor is suffering a lot. Therefore, there is an opportunity to emphasize on the local. There is an opportunity to try and be self-reliant in many areas. We know that it's impossible for us to be self-reliant in every area. We cannot go back to the old days of isolation. Autarky is impossible. We know that. But we cannot be going back to the old days of mad globalization, where we are increasingly getting dependent on the rest of the world for everything. That is changing. Countries will have to live in isolation, and villages and towns will have to live in isolation. I mean, relative isolation. So that's presenting us with an opportunity to be self-reliant on many things, particularly in the area of food and related production. There is another reason why we should be trying to be more self-reliant in the case of agriculture production. Emission of greenhouse gas and the problem of environmental degradation, climate change, and all. The world is becoming increasingly conscious of the problems related to climate change, and therefore, in fact, if we can be self-reliant in the case of agriculture, a major part of this problem can be solved. We have already launched a major campaign for increasing food production, fruits, all kinds of food. We can afford. We can try to be more self-reliant. It's not that we don't want any import from other parts of the world, other parts of India. We will continue to need that. But every village in India, every state in India can try to be more self-reliant in the case of food. That is point number one. In the coming days, in the coming years, the local governments will have to try and be self-reliant in many areas. That self-reliance in some of the areas can be improved through local government activities, local level planning. Then coming to the specific challenge of Gramina Padana Kendra, I think even when we were starting Gramina Padana Kendra, in some of the very early discussions, it was being mentioned that this Karakolam and related areas, they cannot be perfectly classified as villages. This Gramina Padana Kendram, in fact, is located in a semi-urban area, urban fringe area. And we should also realize that the problems related to urbanization is an area where we are lacking in practical knowledge. We have theoretical knowledge coming from different parts of the world, but we need to really develop local knowledge to address urban problems. And in Kerala, over the last 5-6 years, we have been able to give more attention to urban problems. But considering the kind of challenges involved, the effort that we have done, we have been able to put in, that is much, much less. So, in fact, we need to really now focus on urban problems. I know that Kila is trying to gear up and trying to focus now more on urban-related problems. Kerala government will be focusing in the future more on urban problems because we will have to deal with these urban problems. And Gramina Padana Kendram, probably, I hope that this was taken up for discussion earlier in the earlier sessions. But I think this is one very important area where Gramina Padana Kendram should be focusing on. It's a major challenge, but my point is that we should be developing a lot of theoretical kind of exercise in the Gramina Padana Kendra, but we will have to work on practical problems, practical projects, and develop knowledge related to practice, and that is very important. That's where Gramina Padana Kendram has been contributing in a significant way in the past. That's where Kila also can contribute. That's where, in fact, Kerala's experience is considered to be valuable by scholars in this area. Let me also mention one more point before I close. We are very proud of our achievements. We are very happy about our achievements. We are also happy when others recognize this. I was very, very happy when I heard others speaking about Kerala's achievements. But we should also be very realistic about our limitations. And this is the time we should be doing that, because we are going to have these elections to the local governments very soon. And the new set of elected representatives are going to take over after October. This is a time point at which we should be examining our achievements, our limitations. Okay, that we have learned a lot in dealing with the floods, natural calamities, disasters. Now the pandemic we are dealing very well. But let us also focus on the limitations, shortcomings, and then prepare for the coming 5 years, so that Gramina Padana Kendram and Kila can change the training programs, the content, as well as the teaching methods, so that we train, we develop capacity of the new elected representatives and other activists who are going to come into this area. So let us be very proud of our achievements, and at the same time, let us be very critical, and let us not certainly go back to the days of too many bureaucratic controls over local governments. If you become too academic, and if you become too bureaucratic, and if you are losing confidence in the democratic capabilities of local governments, then there is this likelihood of over-regulating. There is this problem of making the whole thing too cumbersome. One achievement of local governments in the last 4 years is that we have made things more simple, less cumbersome, less bureaucratic. And that, in my opinion, had paid rich dividends. And the freedom of local governments, the degrees of freedom of local governments had considerably improved because of the simplification of procedures in Kerala. Now, let me stop here. And I am, in fact, looking forward to Sri S.M. Vijayanand and his commission report, which is likely to come, at least the first part may come very soon. I am looking forward to the report because that is going to shape our policies, that is going to shape our training programs of Gramina Padana Kendram, Kila, and the government. With that, let me stop here and let me invite Sri S.M. Vijayanand for his valedictory. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope I am audible and visible. Yes, sir, yes, sir. Just I wanted to reflect on the spirit of the times, because I was associated with People's Front from day one. And 1996, when we started, there were huge expectations, voluntary technical code allowing professionals from outside government to formally intervene in development planning and the whole philosophy of participatory development. So participatory development's other side of the coin is participatory knowledge creation. So I think after 26 years, I heard Dr. Isaac give a brilliant lecture on what is participatory development, participatory knowledge creation. People unlock their knowledge through facilitation, and they use it to improve their awareness of their condition and to move forward to action. So that way is a fantastic thing, and that should be GPK's motto in the coming months. And what are the factors behind GPK's success? Dedicated leadership, flexible organization, working closely with the panchayat and the people, and adding values to the activities of the panchayats. And a whole lot of activities you have taken, diversity of action research, training, excellent thing, and acquiring technical proficiency on the go. So a whole range. And interestingly, you have moved beyond curriculum and the district. And I think today the decision should be to move beyond the state and a higher trajectory of involvement and development. Now, post-COVID, there is a new paradigm of local governance, not very different from Kerala, emerging in most parts of India, willy-nilly. And even in Kerala, a kind of thing things which I had dreamed of in the 90s, late 90s, which were not agreed to, are now happening. The local government as a chief coordinator of many things at the local level. So at the national level, what is emerging, which we need to understand, is that a Gram Panchayat, civil society organization, self-help group, a people, community-led friend line of governance is emerging slowly. It may not last, and they are responding to the local need. And a virtuous circle is possible. Performance, visibility, more responsibilities, greater trust, what I would call the soft devolution. You trust a local government and their performance improves even without much powers and funds. So, and then I have been reflecting on what contributes to the success of local governments in this fighting COVID, including Kerala. And one thing I want to tell, after the experience of the floods, many things will not be sustained. Of course, they prepared a disaster management plan, but that is for disaster management, not to take care of a new paradigm in a post-flood Kerala. I don't think much has been done. So we should avoid that. Post-COVID, we should learn from this and go ahead. A lot of priority areas have been listed, so I am not getting into it. One, which is missing all over India, is participation in a real sense. So can we do that of people, professionals, CSOs, CBOs? Then second is spatial planning. It has not been mentioned. I will not mention things which others have said. Spatial planning is there even for economic development. Though we have not studied the concept of Pura, it is eminently valid for providing economic development. And district plan. We have not prepared a district plan. Nowhere in India there is a district plan as it should be prepared. So my request, a specific request to GPK, get a district plan prepared for Kerala after convincing the new Jilla Panchayat president, who will be a lady. Everything is there in Trivandrum, so you can prepare a model thing and improve on the Kollam thing considerably. And another challenge, which is more participatory, not with the people, but with the elected representatives, that the politics of constituency and politics of development need to be reconciled. Otherwise, it's not in Kerala, everywhere, the division is going to happen, and that will be the killer of development. So all aspirations, everything will be killed by that division of funds, and then you will not have real plan. And social accountability is something which is missing. I'm sorry to say, even in Kerala, social audit is only nominal, and the brilliant idea which emerged in the early days of People's Plan, which came up today, is citizen education. Unless you educate citizens, you can't have democracy. So participation comes from education, and that part is also very important. And another specific point I want to tell you in this context, we don't have a health plan. Though Kerala has done very well through the performance of health personnel, we have not tried to prepare a health plan. Ardram is the beginning. We should use that to prepare a health plan, and that can be only at the district level. You can't technically have a primary health plan. Then a point which was highlighted by Dr. Harilal and other speakers, economic development is what every panchayat wants, whether it be Jharkhand or Kerala. Economic development means production and productivity and creating jobs. So what can you do? And the local market. Not just jobs in agriculture, which can never give jobs which Keralites need. They can contribute to self-sufficiency and good food, but not for jobs. So basically for jobs, it's going to be a major challenge. A few great lessons to learn from South Korea and Germany and many other countries on local economic development. And urban is very important, but much more is the urban-rural linkages. How do you, in Kerala, it can be a fantastic urban-rural linkages for everything. Ecology was mentioned, and inclusion. There again, we have failed miserably in including the scheduled tribes and the traditional fishing. Small number, but maybe around 3 to 4%. So inclusion is another area where GPK should try, not only in Kerala, all over India. Green technologies was mentioned, service delivery was mentioned, disaster management was mentioned. My request is that this should be done in the framework of SDGs, because SDGs are very active in many parts, at least in assessing the performance, and Kerala can get huge political capital because our performance will be naturally at the top. But Kerala's SDG is very good. So what can GPK do in this context? One, what I call proof of concept. Proof of concept is many things are there, and that is what action research is about. And proof of concept as understood and accepted by people. And how can you do that? I didn't know that when I was in Kerala, but from Delhi I learned you can only nurture clusters. Even in Kerala, you can only nurture clusters. Beacons as schools of practice, and others can learn on a hub and spoke model. You can't convert 941 panchayats, let alone 2.5 lakh panchayats. Of course, now a lot of people, that's very interesting, spontaneously, public agencies and NGOs have sought a partnership with KILA and GPK. This should be formalized. It's a no-profit kind of thing, so we should do cross-state, cross-country research. And something that GPK can do in the current context is what I would call teleconsultancy. Anybody can link you up and you will give a reply, not immediately, but after constituting a voluntary technical code, you will help. And GPK should move on to advocacy also, which we have not done. Action research and participatory research needs to go on to advocacy because you have people's perspectives. And another important thing, the new image of Kerala. So a lot of people want to learn from Kerala, not only from the rest of India, from the whole world. I think GPK should use this advantage and try to explain what Kerala does. And how will you do it? What you can do, I said, but how will you do it? Revive ETC. It's very difficult. It is dead for 20 years. How do you revive ETC? Without that, you can't claim participatory knowledge creation. Second, certain concept of Government of India, which is mentioned, Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, the educational institutions, the cluster facilitation teams, civil society organizations. So that can all be brought into this, and the SSG network. So that which we are doing in Kerala, not very much outside. And then these are the days of networks and partnerships. So we can't create GPK or expand it, but we can get into very, very productive, synergetic partnership with many, and there are a lot of, and then the fashionable word now is platform. Even people with differences can come for a common thing of strengthening, and so that kind of joint up action is there. Let me conclude. Rajesh Sinha from NIRD gave a very practical suggestion, the concept of GPRC. It is there in RGSA, Block Panchayat Resource Center and Gram Panchayat Resource Center. So if GPK can mentor Block Panchayat Resource Center, and by formally telling SIRDs, we are willing, formally telling Government of India, we are willing, nobody will come to you. Let's write through NIRD, reach out to SIRDs and say, we are willing to mentor. We can't go and do it there. That's very difficult. And that is the idea of creating the demand for decentralization, not based on ideology, not based on politics alone, but based on evidence from the field. It is good politics. Decentralization is good politics. and so that we move from a welfare state to a caring state, for which somebody used the word GPK can be a guru. That is a very high praise for GPK. Take that seriously. And then the last is, again repeating that point, in any participatory knowledge creation, the most excluded should come first. People alone. The most excluded should come first, and that is really liberating. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So our webinar is coming to a close now. I hope it was a very great experience for all of us. And thanks to all for attending this. Especially, I would also like to say that GPK has been Kila's district implementing training institute for years. So it is natural that we partner and collaborate for such a webinar. With these words, once again thanking all the panelists, all the dignitaries, right from Dr. Thomas Isaac, Madam Sharada Muralidharan, Vijayanand sir, Dr. Harilal, and all others who are panelists, who have discussants, who have participated, and all the viewers. Thank you all for this wonderful experience. And especially from Kila's side, our special thanks to GPK, who has been our collaborator and partner for years, which has been a motivating institution for all of us. So thanks to GPK. And finally, thanks to Karakulam Gram Panchayat. The president is here with us. The Panchayat had actually initiated GPK years ago, 20 years back. And thanks to Karakulam Gram Panchayat and its present president, Srimati Anila. And thank you once again. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Suvan. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Revive ചെയ്ത് എടുക്കണം.